It is episode 381 of Lopez Radio. At Lopez Radio for all the social medias. LopezRadio.com is where the podcast lives. Please rate, review, subscribe if you want to. We're also on YouTube. Just search out Lopez Radio. It's there. Joining me today is a gentleman who's been on the show before. It's been a little while, but it's always great to have him back. He just did an episode of Offline with Lopez Radio with me, which will be available on YouTube. So there will be a link in the description of the podcast and in the video if you're watching it on video. You can follow him on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch. It's at Rick Loves Bacon. Rick, welcome back to the show, dude.
Dude, thank you for having me. We had a blast.
Dude, I looked up and so much time had gone by and I was like, whoa, we got to move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and you know, we only like touched the tip of the iceberg of everything that we spoke about, right?
Yeah.
Because TikTok, everything is just kind of like, there's so much I would love to talk about, but we only had this much time.
I feel like all we do is touch tips, man. Like it's it's just what we do.
It's a start of a great relationship.
But yeah, we had a great time. So please check that out. We talked about all kinds of stuff that your ventures into TikTok, your break from Twitch, writer's block, and how we try to deal with it, stuff like that. So there's plenty of stuff to check out there. And as I said before, be sure to follow Rick at Rick Loves Bacon on all the things social media. Well, dude, it's good to have you back. Before we get too far into it, you sent me some beer from a brewery out of Fort Worth, Texas. They are Martin House Brewing. Now, you've sent me stuff from them before. It was just a dill pickle beer, like a kind of like a Berliner Weiss, and it was delicious. So they made a multi-pack. You found this and you're like, you sent me a picture and I was like, what? And you're like, I'm sending this to you. I was like, what? And it got here and there are 4 flavors. Unfortunately, no regular, because I really love the regular too, but I can't wait to try these. Bloody Mary, bread and butter, which I'm scared of, chamois drip, which I have no idea what that means, and spicy pickle beer. I know you've tried some of these because you tried them out on TikTok and reviewed them.
I did, yes.
If I had to
go on this ride?
I'm ready to go on this ride. If I had to start with one, where should I start? I want to go with, I don't know. I got your suggestion. You tell me where to start.
Honestly, I would start with bread and butter pickle first.
Okay.
Then go with the chamois drip.
Okay.
And then go with the Bloody Mary?
Yeah, Bloody Mary. So do the spicy second before the end, right?
The spiciest second before the end.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I have them here too.
Mm-hmm. So
we can go on this ride together. Like, I have other beers.
Yeah.
Those beers down. Like, it was an adventure. And I don't know if I pointed it out to you, but I've been building a relationship with Martin House.
I've noticed that you guys have gone back. You've shown me some where they've not contacted you, but tagged you in some things.
Yeah, so I've been growing a relationship with them because of TikTok. So
right,
and we just have a blast. Kind of like we're just turning into that group of buddies that are just like going back and forth at each other, just messing with each other. It's a good time.
That's awesome. Like they seem like they're. I mean, just looking at the stuff they do, just from an outsider looking in, they seem like they're probably just a bunch of hilarious fucking dudes.
They're awesome.
They're awesome. All right, so I'm going to show it to the camera. It's Best Made Bread and Butter's pickle beer. I'm actually kind of scared of this because I don't like sweet pickles.
I know.
Oh, God.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad.
It's really not too bad? All right, here we go.
Hold on, let me go at this with you.
It smells just like a pickle jar. It smells just like a pickle jar when you open it up. I'm actually gonna pour myself a little glass here.
You're being fancy, sir.
I'm gonna be fancy. I'm pouring it into our buddy J-Pod Shuffle's pint glasses he sent me.
Nice.
Right, take a little smell here. Oh my. Salud, my friend. Cheers. That is so sweet. Oh God.
It's hard to describe. It's like you're drinking a stale pickle.
Yeah. I mean, look, it tastes like it's supposed to taste. But woo. I I asked the wife before we got started. I was like, "Do you want me to save something for you?" She goes, "No, I don't want heartburn tonight." I was like, "All right, fair enough."
Dude, you're gonna be up for like a rough evening once you get to that last one.
You think so?
About killed me. Yeah, it killed me.
The Bloody Mary?
No, the last one, the spicy one.
Oh, the spicy one. Oh no. Well, I'm fine with that. It'll be okay.
Oh, like I said, it's fun. It's an adventure. It's an exciting experience, but it's not something that I'm going to seek out again.
Yeah, I could see why. Now here's the thing. The regular dill pickle beer I could drink like 12 of those.
Dude, they sell that. That's always stocked now.
It's year round now for them, right? That's one of their mains.
Always there. I mean, I have a whole stash of it here at home.
Oh my goodness.
I haven't touched.
It's incredible. It's so good. Well, thank you for sending those beers. I really appreciate that. Dude, it's been so long since we've gotten together, and I'm so glad you have like reliable internet. How long did you deal with the internet outage at your place?
Over 2 weeks. The last internet outage was over 2 weeks, and it was brutal.
But like spotty internet. You dealt with spotty internet for like over a year.
Oh, ever since the pandemic started. Like our internet just went to shit. Like that was kind of like the main reason that I ended up quitting Twitch or taking the hiatus, because all I could think about is watching my bit rate just fluctuate like crazy. For those that don't know, the bit rate is kind of like the signal strength for the upload.
Yeah. Well, and like there's a little, like if you're not familiar with streaming and the software OBS, there's a little square that's green when things are good, and yellow when you're on thin fucking ice, and red when everything's just fucked, right? And no matter where you place that, you're going to see it. Like it's just going to catch your eye. You're just going to see that little blink, 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 blink.
It's meant to be visible for a reason.
Sure. But
when you're focusing on it because your internet's garbage, it's like I'm trying to like download boobies on a 56K modem. You know, it was horrible.
Just waiting on the picture to clear up. Just waiting on the picture to clear up.
I almost see a nipple. Do I get excited now, or do I wait the extra 10 minutes?
Yeah. If I wanted to broadcast myself as scrambled porn, I would do it. You know, I could find a filter that would help me here, but I don't want to do it unwillingly, right? Yeah, I want to choose my terms.
And I was having such a blast, especially when I started doing the hot tub streams.
Yeah.
That was so much fun.
It was a good time.
Just pretending to be on a beach somewhere or in somebody's, backyard. Or
I forgot you were doing the beach ones and the hot tub. I forgot about that. Those were so funny, dude. They were very fucking funny. God.
Just saying we broke into somebody's apartment complex, because that's something that you sometimes do when you're young.
Yeah, of course.
Break into some apartment complex and pretend you have friends there so you can, raid the pool.
Yeah. Oh, no, Greg. I know Greg.
Like 95B.
Uh-huh. We don't have a 95B. Greg though, right? Like maybe I got the number wrong. Well, you're back, and something I've been trying to do with folks, and I forgot to do it last week, but no pressure. But I like to ask my guests now, what's on your mind? What's going on?
What's on my mind right now?
What's on your mind? Like what like anything. It could be what you're doing, what you've been up to, anything.
Hey, honestly, it's kind of trying to get everything buttoned up to make my return to Twitch. Same thing, dealing with a little bit of writer's block again, trying to come up with TikTok videos, trying to figure out how to space myself there, because you definitely don't want to upload. Well, personally for me, I don't want to upload the same content.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a bad idea, to be honest.
Yeah.
You kind of want to stick to one thing, but I just want to focus on a little bit of everything. So trying to figure out that balance of like, do I want to do a rant? Do I want to do something funny? Do I want to upload a cooking video? I have like 4 cooking videos that I need to edit and upload.
Well, and it's like, too, like, I feel like the way you're talking about it is kind of like with Twitch when people want to be variety streamers, or if they want to like have one main game, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of like, well, I'm purposefully, by saying I want to do a bunch of stuff, you're purposely saying I don't need, you're saying goodbye to a lot of people, because people want to just hang out for one game sometimes, one particular thing. And that's a tough call. But I mean, at the same time, like as you get older, like, we're a couple older dudes when it comes to like these kind of communities we're in. Well, you understand that like I gotta vary things up. Like I just can't. It's not like when I was super young and I could just lock in on something forever. You can't do it.
Yeah, like it's fine for me to be able to stick to one thing on Twitch because I'm very good at that.
Mm-hmm.
But like I can't do that with every platform. I need to have that variety.
Yeah.
So like coming back to Twitch, definitely gonna be going back to Dead by Daylight.
Really? Okay.
Maybe Hogwarts Legacy. We'll see. That's kind of like where I want to go to. But definitely going back to Dead by Daylight. But I just can't do the same thing on every platform. I need some sort of variety. And TikTok is more forgiving when it comes to that. Because the same people that are supporting over, the comedy or whatever, even though you're making fun of the stuff that they love, are still going to support you in everything else that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And because that answers like the next question I was moving into is like, were you like with coming back, are you planning on like kind of just picking up where you left off, or were you planning on changing it up a little? And it sounds like you just want to get back to just chilling and playing games. Yeah,
that's all I really want to do because it's just such an easy and fun game to narrate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to keep up with chat.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a lot of downtime, right?
Yeah. Even if you're playing the game, I can play that game on autopilot, have fun, get scared, and still keep up with chat.
Mm-hmm.
Not with other games where you have to focus more, there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, I just find it mentally draining.
Yeah. You planning, well, I asked you about it, but the mortuary assistant, you going to dip your toe?
I don't think I am.
Really?
I don't think I am. It's a single player game, and I like my multiplayer games.
Yeah, I understand. I've got a lot of friends, like honestly, a lot of our people like we knew through DBD and stuff that are just kind of like, man, I'm tired of they've gotten so burnt out on multiplayer in general, and so many of them have just gone to playing single player games. They're just kind of like, I just want something that to put it there, like their words would be like something that someone else can't ruin for me. And I'm just kind of like, I get it. I still play multiplayer games, but it's like I understand why someone would feel that way. Sometimes you got to change it up.
Yeah, no, totally. And everybody has different experiences with games, and it just depends on what you can't let like other people dictate what you're doing in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
You got to learn how to kind of roll with that and kind of make that into its own little event.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's like where I started streaming was, broadcasting RP stuff. Like before GTA RP was a thing, I was doing Arma 3 life mods. So,
wow.
You kind of have to kind of create your content from there, and things aren't always going to go the way you want them to go, but you got to learn how to take that situation and improve on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to, like, especially if it's something you're really interested in doing, like you just kind of have to make it work for you, or you just take it offline. Like you just have some of those. I've got those games where it's just kind of like, this is when I have those rare moments of not having to, dance in front of the camera, not having to, do this. I've got time just to myself. I've got just that list of games that are just for me.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that's usually just got like stuff you want to get immersed in, like Witcher or something like that, where it's like, I really just want to get entrenched in the story, and I don't want to have to worry about like, is everybody still here? That's what I guess that's why multiplayer replayable games are just so good, because once the match is over, who cares, right? Who really cares? Like we're still all here together and hanging out.
Yeah, there's nothing to it. You don't have to explain the entire storyline over and over again. How we talked about earlier about resetting.
Yeah.
It's like when you're playing things like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14, or any story-based game, you're constantly going to have to repeat what's going on with something like that, which can get pretty old as well, because that can be so in-depth.
Yeah. And those in the story-driven games, like if someone misses like 30 minutes, they don't know what's going on, and if they weren't there for the first time you started the story, like they're kind of like, I don't like, and a lot of people, especially the folks that we want to hang out with, don't want to have you re-explain what's going on. Like, what did I miss? Like, what's happening? It's like, I don't know. I'm 30 hours into this game. Like, what do you want me to tell you? Like, where do I start even?
Like, I don't even remember the beginning.
Mm-hmm. So who knows? But it's good to know that you're going to be coming back. I know that you, like you said, the internet struggles sucked. And we talked back and forth and stuff like that. But man, it's good to know that you're on your way back in, man.
Dude, I am beyond excited. I am very, very excited to get back into this because I've really missed it. And TikTok for me, especially the lives, it's been kind of like dipping my toe back into the pool, kind of keeping my chops up.
Yeah.
Just kind of getting that small fix. But even then, TikTok's very primitive to where like I can't hear myself.
Yeah. That's tough, right?
I can't hear myself. I can't adjust the lighting because I'm outside.
Yeah, there's no way to really do it. Like, unless you had some really intense, like, front lighting or something, it's just kind of, you're at the mercy of Mother Nature at that point.
It's just rough. And I tell people all the time, I get thrown off. It's like my goal was to set up like a proper like outdoor broadcasting setup that I can I know there's mixers that you can hook up to your phone.
Oh yeah.
And give myself like a wireless in-ear monitor and a wireless mic and just go.
Yeah.
Because that would just be the way to do it, and that would make me feel a whole lot more comfortable.
I remember you talking about like looking at some of that stuff that would allow you to monitor yourself, and you're like, I'm thinking about getting this lav mic, I'm thinking about doing this, and you're like, I just don't know. I was like, just be sure, man. Like, be sure you want to do it. Like, if otherwise, I mean, I think a lot of people get and I think a lot of people get lost in that. Like, why did I buy this mic? It's because I wanted this mic. Like the mic I had before this, like this is all for me, and I was trying to get into that with Death last week, and we side railed into some great stuff, but like there's a diminishing returns on equipment, right? At some point it just becomes for you. Like no one cares. At some point they're like, oh great, you got a cool mic. You sounded great before, so I don't know what to tell you.
Well, yeah, I mean, you sounded great before, but I sound better to myself.
Right. I feel better. Yeah. I deserve this, Rick. I deserve this mic in my face. And
it's like, your wife wants to buy all these shoes or buy whatever.
Yeah.
I want to have this sweet giant dick of a microphone in my face.
Yeah.
You feel good.
And actually, out there, if you're just listening, we are microphone twins. We shop at the same store. We have the same Electro Voice RE20, and it's glorious. It's fantastic. He's hugging his mic right now. He's hugging it.
It's amazing. Amazing.
It's lovely to have. But like again, that's for you. That's for me. That's just a thing. I think the people like you were talking about that are going to show up are they're going to show up. This is not going to make extra people show up, but it's nice. So I think it's knowing that, right? It's knowing that, okay, I'm absolutely not going to get more people because I can get this, this mic. And I think some people are they kind of get locked in on that. I got to buy this next great thing. And it's kind of like, well, you don't have to, but.
No, you don't have to. You can. There's definitely lots of great microphones out there that are like $100 or less.
Yeah.
That are just amazing and probably just sound just as good.
Tell me about this food content, man. Like what precipitated you to be like, I mean, I know on offline you talked about how you were just doing like comedy TikToks and reacts and stuff like that. And someone reached out to you about spices that they had locally where you were at. And, but all of a sudden, like you started sending me these delicious videos of all this stuff you were doing. Like what was kind of the drive to be like, I'm just going to cook in front of people. It's going to be great.
This is something that I've always wanted to do. And it's something that I've always wanted to do with Twitch as well. A lot of people don't know this, but I love to cook. Unless you're like in my circle of friends, you don't realize I cook some pretty crazy stuff on the stove. We were bored, we're isolated. I was like, let's do more outdoor cooking. The only thing I had was a Weber kettle, entry level grill, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter which barbecue guy you talk to, they will swear by the Weber kettle because it's affordable. You can buy them super cheap from somebody that bought them and it's like, hey,
it's Old Faithful, right? Like it's the old trusty. It's gonna, you get the charcoal, like, and I love charcoal. Like I love just the old school. Like it just reminds me of childhood because most people had the old school square grill, had the black bottom and like the orange top on it. Remember when we were kids?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They sell the ones that fold up and it kind of stands against the wall.
Yeah. Everyone had that when we in the 80s. We were young. It's like that's the grill. That's what I picture in my head when someone says grill. But yeah, dude, do you remember when we first met and started hanging out, like the way we talked about food in chat, or the way you would talk to everyone else about food in chat, and the way we would kind of go back and forth about stuff for at least the first 6 months I knew you, I thought you were a cook. Because I was like, oh, well, Rick's a cook and blah, 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 blah. And then you were like, I'm not a cook. I'm like, you're not? I was like, you talk about food all the time. And you talk about cooking this and these crazy things. And you're not even a cook.
No, I couldn't get into that. There's kind of like a whole thing right now. People are trying to get me to do pop-ups. I got people that want to do like food trucks with me and stuff. And I'm like, no, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's just no way. That's just too much work.
It's a deep well to go to, right? Like it can consume you, I'm sure, right?
Oh yeah, well, especially if you're thinking about just regular barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're talking about a brisket, you're talking about anywhere from 14 to 18 hours of cook time, not including your resting period, which if you're doing it properly, you want to do a minimum of 2 hours rest.
Is there a style of food that's judged harder than barbecue?
I don't think so.
Pizza maybe like a close second, but dude, barbecue, like it just so much can go wrong with it and so much can go right. And it's just kind of, barbecue honestly reminds me of brewing beer because you can really fuck up a beer. You can absolutely fuck up a beer. And we've all had terrible barbecue too.
Oh yeah.
And you know when you're having terrible barbecue and you're like, oh.
I went to this barbecue place in this small town between Austin and Houston, and we were stranded. There was a miscommunication. We went to go make a delivery, and they're like, we don't want this here. So we're waiting for a phone call, right? And they're like, okay, let's go have lunch. Where do you guys recommend food? Oh, there's this great barbecue spot. It's inside of a gas station. Oh, okay. Not a big deal. We'll go. And I told you about this. I talked about it on stream.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought the brisket, and I tried to chew the brisket, and I could not bite through it. It was just leather. And then I started stretching it out. And I stretched it out pretty far. And it would not break, and it just sprung back together and like kept shape again. Oh, it was bad.
That's so terrible. That's such a horrible feeling. Yeah, dude, and like, and I'm with you. Like the fact, and there are some people out there like, oh, a barbecue spot in a gas station. I'm like, look, there are places inside gas stations that I've had some of the best food I've ever had. You know, I've been to a Peruvian restaurant that was in the back of a gas station, and the guy was 100% Peruvian. He used to be a cook at a Peruvian restaurant. That place closed down. He wanted to open up his own spot, so he did, and it's just incredible food. You know, he just knows what he's doing. I mean, it's just the fact that it's in a gas station. Sometimes people are kind of like, no, there's no way it's good.
Well, I mean, it just really depends. Like, a lot of people don't live in like giant metropolitan cities, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not including Austin. I'm originally from Chicago. So I grew up in an upbringing where there's like a convenience store and there's like a deli in the back.
Yes, I love it. Go ahead.
So it's like that's where you know you're gonna get really good food, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you talk to somebody from like New York or Chicago, and that lives here, and they're like, you kind of miss that like mom and pop deli feel, because even though it's in a convenience store, it's amazing. And I know there's places like that in Philly and things like that as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's just depending on where you're at. Like some people are just kind of like, oh, like right now here in town, like if you ever make it back, there's a guy who does these burrito tacos And so the first time I found out about them, they were someone I know on Instagram had posted a picture, and they tagged this account in it. They're like, "These tacos are amazing," blah blah blah, at blah blah blah. And I was like, I've never heard of this, and I know these people live near me. And I was like, all right, let me go to this account and check it out. And it was just pages and pages of just him cooking amazing birria tacos, birria tortas, birria, ramen. Like he was doing ramen with the consomme and all that stuff, right? And I was like, this place is incredible. It looks great. I was like, where are they at? Couldn't find them on Google Maps. I was like, what's going on here? And I was like, started looking closer at their posts, and turns out they were like, all right, if you want to order from us, reach out via DM on Instagram, which who does that, right? DM on Instagram, and then we'll take your order there. So I reached out. I was like, hey, I want to order some tacos and a torta, and I want to try the ramen. I'm like, okay. So they got my name, and they told me how much it was. They were like, all right, you're gonna Venmo to this number, to this account, and and I'll give you the address. Venmoed it. They're like, here's the address. I was like, all right, cool, on the way. I got there. I put in my GPS, and I just went. It was only like maybe 15, 20 minutes down the road. Fine. I start getting closer, and I'm like, this is a neighborhood. I pull out, and it's like I'm pulling into a driveway. And then there's just there's a taco, it didn't even say tacos. It was just a picture of a taco and an arrow to the side of the house. And there was an open gate. And I walk in, and like this guy has a giant flat top grill in the back. And he's like, what's your name? And I was like, oh, it's for Lopez. And they're like, okay, I got you. I'm going to make it fresh right now. And he starts doing all the birria stuff, and he's just doing it in his backyard. And I was like, this is crazy and so illegal. I'm sure. Like it's fine. Like I felt like I was doing a shady drug deal, but for tacos. Like it was insane.
Shady taco deal.
Yeah. And so like they box it all up. He's got his kids out there, like, putting the boxes in the he didn't speak hardly any English. His wife did all the, transactions. His kids, boxed everything up. And I get home, and we break open these tacos, and I'm just like, this is so fucking good, man. It's so good. And it turns out like 6 months later, now they have like an actual location. Like they just kept banking that money, and they sold out every weekend, by the way. When they were selling out of their backyard every weekend, they sold out of everything they had. And now they're in a gas station, and I dare say they're too big for the gas station already. And they've only been open for a few months.
Awesome.
There's no way that they stay there. They've got to get their own place. It's just, there's nowhere to sit. You have to get it to go. Like it's one of those things. And they have like a few tables, but they're always full of people. So it's just kind of like, well, you're getting it to go. And it's always like, you got to go at off times. Otherwise it's just a line out the door. And it's odd because you make your order and you're just standing in a convenience store waiting. And I'm just like, all right, oh, wait. Thankfully, there's a brewery down the street. Usually you just get your tacos and you just go to the brewery and have some beer there. But I love stories like that. Like this guy just kills it. He clearly cooked somewhere before, and he just destroys birria. Are birria tacos big in Austin right now or no?
Oh, they're big everywhere. They're like a major thing. I'm kind of like a little bit like about it.
Yeah.
Personally, like I have nothing against them, just not my thing.
Think like, for anybody out there who doesn't know what that is, like think like a French dip, but a taco. Like they give you the consomme to dip your taco in. Like it's good.
It's a Mexican French dip, pretty much. Yeah,
it's fantastic. But yeah, like to get back to what we were talking about. I'm sorry, I kind of derailed.
Fine.
I kind of derailed there, but like I haven't ever been scared to go into like a place. Sometimes you find those best places, like the little taco shop that's in the back of a mercado or something like that, where it's like, holy shit, I didn't even know this was back here. And there's just some lady back there making these badass tacos, and like no one ever talks about it.
No, and those are like some of the best foods that you'll get, especially like if you ever travel abroad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think my wife and I spent about 7 to 10 years traveling, and we're in these countries where we don't understand the language, but we understand how to say some things about food.
Sure.
So we'll just go into some random restaurant and we'll say usually whatever the translation of plate of the day is for whatever country we're in, and just get surprised, and it just works out great.
Well, you know, Rick is probably talking to these folks kind of like my toddler talks to me right now. It. Just like it.
Money. I got money. I got Monopoly money.
there was a really cool spot we went. So when I was like 20, 21, my dad took me and my brother to Peru. And so we spent time in Lima, and then we wanted to go see Machu Picchu. And when you go to Machu Picchu, you have to fly into Cusco, Peru. And it's just a tiny little town. Like, it's set up like most towns where you have the big cathedral in the square, and like everybody's got, stands and stuff set up. And we have to take a 2-hour train ride to where Machu Picchu is. And the town at the bottom of the mountain, it's just a bunch of like houses, but it's set up weird. Like, it's set up like almost like condos or apartments, but beside the mountains. And we were hungry. Like, we wanted to eat before we went up there. And literally, my dad just starts talking to some people, and then our guy was like, "Oh yeah, I'll take you to this place." We go in. It's literally someone's house. Like, we just walk in, and he talks to them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, sit down." And like, she's just got stuff she's been cooking on the stove all day, and it's just one of the best meals I've had. And I'm just kind of like, I don't even know what this is, and it's amazing. And like, her kids are just watching TV like in the living room right next to us. She's kind of like, this is really odd.
Oh, dude, it's amazing. No, it's because that's when that's somebody's mom.
Yeah.
Right. And there's nothing better than like mom's food or Nana's food or something like that. They just make some great food, and especially when you're having local fare.
Yeah.
That's like what people should be striving to eat.
Well, and it's amazing to see the hustle, right? Like, clearly, I mean, we paid her for the food and stuff, and it's just kind of like, that's someone that's hustling, right? Like, you just know people, you've met people throughout your life that are just kind of like, they maybe they're just really good at doing something like flipping cars, or maybe they're really good at at cooking, and but they don't want to open a restaurant, but they can do a hell of a pop up, or they can do like, all right, I'll smoke a brisket for your event, or whatever it is, like for your wedding or something like that. And just, you gotta respect the hustle of someone like that. Like, I just remember I feel like when you're 20, 21, you're kind of like not as aware of the world as you will be when you're, closer to your 30s. Like, kind of like, you ever gone on a trip when you were younger, and you think back on it, you're like, man, my head just wasn't there. And I feel like I was thinking about other things the whole time.
Oh, for sure. I actually have a memory that just came into mind.
Go ahead. I want to hear it.
So as a kid, I would live in Mexico for the summers.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you would have to go into Mexico City, and where my dad's from, it's in southern Mexico in the mountains. So you'd have to go to Mexico City, and then you had to bus it over there, and you had to bus it, and then like taxi it, and then bus it again. It was kind of a weird thing.
Yeah.
But at one of the stops, there were some kids selling pets, or wild animals as pets.
Oh no.
But they were all very well taken care of. They had like a hawk. They had all kinds of stuff. And one kid was cuddling with a squirrel. And all I can think of is like, I want to buy the squirrel. I need this squirrel as a pet. Right? But at the same time, I'm not realizing it's like, hey, these people are hustling to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So they have these. Me as a kid, I'm just like, I want that pet squirrel.
Yeah.
It's so adorable. But then they're like, they're trying to make a living so they can eat, but that's something you don't realize until you're much older.
Yeah, that's something that's eye-opening to me. You could probably actually relate to this because you guys have done a lot of traveling. There is such a stark difference of the reality of being in a third world country, right? And you, like, let's say, so when we went to this Peru trip, we spent a lot of time in Lima, a lot of poverty in Lima, there's a lot of poverty there. But then you go into these outskirts cities. So what we were doing was going to Inca ruins, and we were seeing like, Ollantaytambo, and we went to, all these other ruins, and then Machu Picchu. But like everywhere where there's like a significant size ruin, there's a village below, and there's people still living there, just like they were way, way back when. And my dad would frequently go down there, and he would just bring one suitcase just full of toys just to give to the kids, because like they just had nothing. But like you see people hustling, you see like, you see old moms or old grandmas that are out there squeezing oranges and making like fresh juice, and people that are knitting those, those caps you see in the Andes where it covers the ears and it's got the little puff on top, and it's just to see people doing that. And then like, there's the kids are even doing it. The kids at such a young age are, like you were saying, how old were those kids that were selling pets?
Oh man, they were 5, 6 years old. They were kids. I mean, I wasn't much older than they were.
Right. It's just amazing because they are, you can look like me at 2021, like you would see a kid doing something to just like shining shoes, or one kid in particular just came up and sang us a song and did like a dance, and you're kind of like that, and then we gave him $1, like an American dollar, and it was just like, oh, because in Peru the sole versus the dollar is just, it doesn't even come close, right? So that's like a lot of money to them. That'd be like, so to put it in perspective for anyone that's never been to Peru, that'd be like handing someone like handing a little kid like a $50 bill, like it's that big of a difference. Right. And, but like to be like, man, this kid, by the time that kid's 10, he will have lived such a rough life of like going without. And you're kind of like, it made me understand like traveling is the best perspective on how, literally how other people not only live, but like just how other classes live, so it's like, to me, like you can't get any better perspective than actually try. And I'm not talking about like, going to resorts or anything. I'm talking about like going to town and seeing how people live and being like, wow, that kid is like, there's no adult around and that kid is, begging for change. It's just so mind blowing.
Yeah, no, it's definitely very humbling. But I mean, that kid in the back of my head is still like, or the kid in me is still like, I want that pet squirrel.
I want that pet squirrel. Yeah, and like I just think about, you just think about those things, and you think about like, to even bring it back to our own country. Like I remember when I was in high school, we took a trip out to Arizona to visit some family, and we went to the Grand Canyon, and I just remember like where your head's at when you're in high school. Like you're thinking about so much other things, your friends, girls you like, and all this stuff. And like I remember the drive to the Grand Canyon, and I remember getting to the Grand Canyon. I really don't remember much about spending the day at the Grand Canyon. It's so weird to me because like I'm like trying to pull a memory. I'm like, and now I'm just kind of like, I would love to go back to the Grand Canyon. This would be great. Like I just sit there and stare at it for like 3 hours,
Yeah, yeah. No, I remember another memory. And that one comes and goes every now and then. Mm-hmm. And to kind of give you this perspective of like, even as a kid, like you can easily be so ungrateful. Mm-hmm. But I remember my dad bought me these shoes in Mexico. And in my head, they were like, these are the ugliest shoes ever. I don't want these. I want the other shoes.
Yeah.
And it's not that the other shoes were more expensive. They were just more toned down and chill.
Yeah.
And, we go back from the main city, and we were at my grandma and grandfather's house, which is in a little village. No indoor plumbing or anything. Mm-hmm. Like, if you want to take a dump, you better go to the woods.
Right.
And behind the house. But I remember just throwing this fit because I hated the shoes. I needed shoes. But I hated the shoes so bad, and the neighbor kid was like, you are so lucky. They bought you such pretty shoes, and you can't even be grateful.
Yeah. Dude.
They're still ugly shoes.
Yeah, they're still ugly, but that'll force some perspective to you, right? I don't know, man. I think about that stuff all the time, and I'm just kind of like, sometimes you just talk to people in the world, and just listening to the way they talk about certain things, you're like, you've never traveled. You've never been somewhere where people are on hard times. Like when I say travel, you've never been somewhere where people are like really having a rough go of it, and it's obvious.
Even like if you think of like a lot of like major European cities,
mm-hmm.
Like the standard of living that we have here is so much better than over there, mm-hmm. depending on where you're at. Yeah. Because it's like, these people are paying an obnoxious amount for like this little bitty apartment. They have no place to park, no nothing, and they're paying. It's expensive.
Yeah.
But you come here and we have this giant house that even to me, it's kind of like, it's not that big,
Sure.
but I have a giant backyard. I have a studio in my house for
Right.
no reason.
Yeah.
Right?
Other than the fact you just want a studio.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, we do have like a different like standard of living, just all around in general. Because man, there's times where you're drunk and you can't get back to your hotel or hostel. Sometimes a nice random stranger will let you stay at their house, which has happened.
It's nuts, right? Like, and you're just kind of like, why are you being so nice? This is how people disappear. Sometimes you're like, this is how people disappear. All right, so you said to go chamois next, right?
Yes. Let me get that one.
All right.
Do you know what chamois is?
I have seen it. I know roughly what it is, but I was going to have you explain what chamois is. Like, I know, like, for those of you out there, if you've ever seen, like, there's certain drinks that have a dark rim of, like, red on the top of it. Kind of like they would salt a glass for a margarita. Chamois, what is it?
Chamois? So chamois, essentially, it's kind of like a candy that's sweet and sour.
Mm-hmm.
People used it for fruits. Like, you would dip your fruit into it and do some tahini and stuff like that on it as well. But people started mixing it with candy. So it's a tart flavor.
Okay.
With a hint of spice. So I got mine here too. I'm going on this ride again with you.
Okay.
Which I'm reluctant.
How do you feel about the chamois?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I think I was already like. So by the time I did the chamois and Bloody Mary, I was already 2 sheets to the wind.
Oh, okay.
And you could tell it in my video.
you were a little toasty.
Yeah. So I did the bread and butter pickle and then the hot one, the spicy one.
Yeah.
And then I did the other two.
Okay.
So the best reaction was out of the spicy one.
Oh man. Well, like, I'm kind of curious as to how the spice will be for me, because I know you're not the biggest spicy fan.
No, I have a sensitive palate. I'm doing quotation marks.
Very sensitive. You're like naked wings.
Oh, no, not that bad.
Salud.
Cheers.
Okay.
It's not bad.
I'm trying to think of what fruit that reminds me of.
Think of a
Almost like
salty fruit roll-up.
Yeah, salty fruit roll up. It's got a little passion fruit to it. Kind of passion fruity, maybe. It reminds me of a candy though, like maybe like not lemonade, but like.
I mean, chamois is technically a candy.
Maybe it reminds me of like kind of reminds me of a big mouthful of like when you grab a handful of like gummy bears or something.
Yeah, kind of like the white gummy bears.
A little white gummy bear esque. It's very like little citrusy, a little pineapple-y. It's good. It's better than the bread and butter.
Yeah, it's not bad.
The bread and butter obviously is like, hey, let's give you a beer that tastes like pickles but is sweetened like a diet soda.
See, I like bread and butter pickles.
Yeah,
but I'm just kind of like indifferent about.
I can't get into
this beer in particular.
I cannot get into sweet pickles. I just can't. Like, for some reason.
I mean, we all have different palates, right?
Sure.
So that's why they have a different variety of pickles, because they have something for everybody. Like, I like bread and butter pickles, but at the same time, I don't remember buying any.
Right. Like, when's the last time you bought a jar of bread and butter pickles?
I don't think it's because somebody somewhere had them and I really liked them, but then I was like, okay, I can't be bothered to go buy them.
Right. When you walk through the grocery store and you see bread and butter pickles on the shelf, those are the same ones that were there when you were a kid. Like, the same exact jar.
Expire.
Yeah, they never expire. They're pickled.
Yeah.
Like, they just stay there. Like, grocery store clerks love it because they just have to dust it a little bit.
So when the zombie apocalypse comes, you'll be able to live off of bread and butter pickles that you scavenge because nobody will touch them.
You're just going to have a pile of like skeletons next to the bread and butter pickles where people are just kind of like, I can't do it. And they just give up.
At least I won't go hungry.
So what are you doing now? Like, you got a big chest freezer for your meats, or you buy everything fresh?
It really depends. If we buy stuff, sometimes we'll buy stuff in bulk.
Yeah.
Because it's cheaper. So we have a freezer full of meat.
Being out there in Texas, you got to be close to some farms and stuff, right? Do you have any local stuff you frequent or anything like that?
We do have quite a few farms. I actually have been building a relationship with a local farmer. I just haven't. I wish they would do a pop up in Austin. They do a pop up in every city but Austin.
Really?
Even though they're from Austin. Yeah.
Is it just like a don't shit where you eat kind of thing? They don't want to have a reputation in the town they live in, maybe?
I think what it is like, since you're in Austin, we'll just deliver it.
Okay.
But I don't want to order, I want to like go and pick it out and buy it from you.
Really?
So,
I
should go to a farmer's market or something.
Dude, farmers markets are where it's at. Like a proper farmers market. I feel like sometimes you go to some towns' farmers markets and it's just like an excuse for people to come out and sell really expensive shit. Like it's not like I'm going and buying like they might have a tiny corner that's vegetables, but everything else is like random shit, right? It's more of an artist market than it is a farmer's market to buy.
It's your outdoor Etsy store.
Yeah. Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. We actually have a brick and mortar called Blue Bazaar, which is kind of like a hipster flea market. It's all people that would normally sell their stuff on Etsy at a store. And this place they even have a vegan ice cream stand outside.
Nice. Well,
which by the way is amazing.
I'm sure.
I'm lactose intolerant, so
Sure.
I'm like I love them to death. I love them to death.
Yeah. We used to, when I was a kid, we had a really proper farmers market. It was just like these open stalls, and it was really big, high roof, and it was just like when you walk through there, you're like, how do people grow this much food? Like when I was a kid, of course, everything's larger than life when you're a kid, but like how do they grow this much food? It's amazing. And they ended up shutting it down to build some shit. But I mean, I haven't been to like we've got a couple, like Atlanta has a couple of big ones that are like a fish market and a farmer's market and stuff like that. But they can do it there because the demand's there. The amount of people are there. Like my town's not really big enough, I guess, to sell a ton of stuff. Plus everyone loves to go to the grocery store. So, I mean, what do you do?
I mean, everybody here, we have some great farmers markets.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is it's like, okay, so I can either spend my day cooking and creating content, or I can go to this farmer's market. Or if I go to the one on Sunday, well, I'm just too hungover to do anything.
That might be the best time to go, right?
Yeah, but then if you're older and your stomach sometimes doesn't agree.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Kind of like, I don't want to like shit myself at the farmer's market, which if you're next to the fish stand, it probably won't make a difference.
I'm enjoying the chamoy. It's good.
It's not bad.
It's really like it kind of tastes like it kind of reminds me of like a tart fruity beer. Like it really does. The only thing that's different is it's got that, because it's a Berliner Weiss, or maybe it's more like a Goza. It's got the pickle juice to it. Like got a little salty tinge on the end of it, but not offensive. Not offensive.
Yeah, it's definitely. It's not horrible.
All right, which one of these did you rank this one the best one out of the pack?
This would be my favorite out of the pack.
Okay, so it's all downhill from here.
Yes, but it's like the reason I went in that order is because it's the level of like how it will murder your taste buds.
Okay, well that's smart, right?
Yeah, I didn't do that when I did my review. I just went, I'm going to do this one because I went in the order that they were in the box.
Oh, okay.
I was showing off the box.
Right.
So, but then after realizing, I was like, if I would have done the spicy one at the end, it would have been a whole lot better. Especially since the reaction on that one was me dying because it was spicy, and then coming back to it like it's fucking spicy.
Yeah. All right, guys. It's living up to its name. It's spicy. What right now is your favorite thing to cook? Like even if you weren't recording content, like you're kind of like, all right, Rick, you can pick one thing to cook, and that's what you're gonna have to cook for the next week.
Honestly, more variations of the poblanos.
Really? So not even meat?
Not even meat. It was just the poblano. I mean, the poblano is such a good taste to begin with.
How much cream cheese do you go through, Rick? Those poblanos are huge.
Well, so that poblano was stuffed with mozzarella as well. Oh. So it wasn't all cream cheese. So I actually had to make like half of a cocoon or a boat, whatever you want to call it, to layer it because they're huge, and then stuff the middle with cream cheese, and then make like the second part.
Oh
of
Lord.
the cocoon or thing of cream cheese, and then cover it up, and then make sure I'm not like destroying the poblano, because if nobody's ever cooked a poblano, you have to peel off the skin. And in order to do that, you have to sear it. And
There's like a whole like process to it, right?
there is a whole process to it. And the more you do it, the faster you get. But that wasn't the first time I made it. I did another one the week before where I got the new smoker, which I'm still learning how to use. And because it's a whole new process, different fire management, so I'm still trying to figure out the ins and outs of it. And all this food that I made essentially came out black.
Okay.
Like, it wasn't burnt,
Yeah.
by all means, but there's a difference between clean smoke and dirty smoke.
Right.
So if you see somebody smoking and you see like a bunch of white smoke, you do not want that. You need to stay away from that.
You want dark smoke.
You either want to get white smoke or just like a lot of smoke. You just want to stay away from that altogether. That's not going to be good barbecue. You definitely want either blue smoke and very little of it, or no smoke.
Okay. Because it's supposed to be low, right? Like, so low and slow, right? Is what they say. Yeah.
It's low and slow, but even then, you can do a low and slow cook.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're having what's essentially a dirty fire that's creating a giant smoke, then that's going to affect the taste of the meat.
Because that's what if it's too intense and creating creating too much, it's like you're putting ash right into the food.
Yeah, it's like a soot that you're putting onto the food.
You ever had like a really burned like burger off the grill and it crunches?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like charcoal.
I've messed up ribs. I mean, I've done so many fails. I will eventually be doing like a fail video. Just because I've messed up so many things, or like sometimes I'll hang ribs on a drum smoker.
Yeah. And
like the last time I did that, so ribs have a membrane in the back that you normally want to take off.
Right. Before you cook.
Before you cook.
Yeah.
But that's fine if you're just kind of laying them on a rack. But if you're hanging your ribs, you want to leave that membrane on because that's kind of like the glue.
Right. It keeps them from falling apart, right? It keeps them from like falling into the fire.
Which that's a rookie mistake that I made, taking off the membrane, even though I know I shouldn't.
What was your face like when you opened up that smoker and there was like there was one rib hanging there?
I was just like, I was just shocked. I was like, I can't believe I did that. And you know what? For the life of me, I couldn't understand why it happened.
You were just on autopilot, probably.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't understand. It shouldn't have happened. And I'm explaining to my friends, it's like I'm having performance anxiety, right? It doesn't happen all the time. I swear.
I swear. I'm usually so much better than this. My luck, I would do something like that when it really mattered, and there was like I was cooking for somebody, and you're kind of like, I'm glad all 20 of you are here because all the ribs are in the ash right now.
Yeah. It's like I think we're gonna order pizza now.
Let me tell you what Rick did. For about a year, Rick has been taking a little social chisel and just chiseling away at me, and it finally gave in this week. And it arrived today. I have a 36-inch flat top Blackstone griddle ready to be put together. And I'm really pumped about it. It's going to change my life, I think.
I'm excited for you. For you.
It was such a heavy box. It was sitting at the door. I was like, let me get this inside. I was like, I'm going to fall over with it. I'm looking forward to it, man. I think it's going to be... it's gonna be delicious. I love griddle cooking. We've got one of those like countertop griddles, like a Black & Decker like countertop griddle that just you plug it in and it's probably I don't know, maybe just a normal griddle you see. Maybe it might be like 18, 20 inches, something like that.
Yeah.
And I love cooking on it. Like cooking pancakes is so easy because you can do multiple instead of just doing a couple in the pan, right? And this thing looks like it's going to be a fucking monster on my back deck.
So that's the one thing about the 36-inch one is that the shelves don't fold.
They don't? Okay.
They don't fold. So
It'll be all right. I'll figure it out.
it's going to be massive. It's going to be massive.
I think what we're going to do, so our deck is like 2 leveled. So we've got like a concrete patio that's usable and covered under. I think I'm actually going to put the grill down there. And when I want to use it, because it's on wheels, I'll just roll it out into the open because part of the pad is open. Grill right there and then let it cool off, clean it, and put it right back under. I'll have the all-weather cover, but at least it'll also be under the cover of the actual porch too.
Yeah. Well, depending on how high your ceiling is, you should be fine.
Okay.
Like because
it's not open fire, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have 7 grills right now.
7 grills? What are you doing with 7 grills?
I have 7 grills, and there's more coming.
How's your wife feel about 7 grills?
She doesn't care because she gets to eat.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
No, more than anything, she's very, very supportive of it because I want to, and that's kind of like how I won her over.
That's the deal, right?
Yeah, like I cooked for her, and then she never left.
Hey,
that was like second or third date or something. It's like I cooked for her, and that was like that was it.
She's like, "You're a cook, right?" And he's like, "No, I'm not.
No,
I am no cook." So I got that. I got the grill scraper that you talked about, the cleaner.
Yeah.
And I got the smash burger set because you got to have the smash burger set. I've been obsessed with smash burgers.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you had a video on TikTok like last week or the week before where you were smashing burgers.
It's not out yet.
Was it just like a preview? Oh, you sent it to me. Oh, that's
I just
right.
sent you stuff.
I forgot. I just like your stuff's there. So I was like, did I see it on TikTok? Did I see it on Instagram? Or did he send it to me? And yeah, he's out there smashing these burgers. And I was like, where'd you get that press, bro? He's like, oh, I got the one, it's the same place you're getting the grill from. I was like, ah. So I got the smash burger thing. Man.
We made the mistake of buying the smaller griddle.
Yeah.
But we were just trying it out. That's why I told
28?
get the 30. Yeah. It's too small.
Okay.
Even for a few people, it's too small.
All right.
Because you want to cook all these things at once.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to get the 36-inch.
Have you done a full breakfast out on the griddle yet?
Oh, yeah. Countless. The only reason I wasn't using the griddle is because I only had that one propane tank.
Yeah.
And you got to have 2 propane tanks.
Okay.
You got to have that backup and cycle them in because like one of the things you got to use to clean it, like any grill, is heat.
Sure.
So even if you're done with cooking, but you're out of propane, now you're going to be stuck with a dirty griddle that you don't want to clean when it's cold because you're just going to end up scratching it up and messing it up.
Yeah, because it's a different. It's going to be getting used to me, and I'm sure I'm going to pick your brain a little bit and watch some YouTube videos because I don't want to ruin the grill. But with a regular old grill, like we had a little old propane grill before and we got rid of it. It was like there was the whole thing of like you cook your stuff. Then you do the whole burn off thing, and then you get the big brush out, and just, and then after a while, you just have these dirty grills, like actual grill plates, and you're just like, ugh. So I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
We finally bought another propane tank because we quit being lazy and bought another propane tank, which I sat on for like 2 or 3 months before taking it to get filled. So finally got it filled, and now that's why we're using it.
You got a good fill place like near you?
Yeah. We have a U-Haul place that fills, and they're pretty cool.
We do U-Haul as well. It's amazing. Like so,
and it's cheap.
I got good practice with U-Haul and getting propane filled when I was brewing because I had the big burner that I use outside. It was just like a low country burner, basically. And yeah, they're just right down the road. It's a lot cheaper than swapping out cylinders. Like it's just usually you can get a good price and just get them both filled at the same time. And if you got a partial, like it's so good because you're like, I know I'm going to use more propane than what's in here. So I'd rather just have it topped off. It's just so great.
Yeah, so my whole thing is just cycling it in. Just use it until it's empty.
Mm.
And then once that's empty out, use the other one or put the other one on and then just go fill up the other one and just cycle them. Because you don't go through a lot of propane.
Right.
So and that's the nice thing about propane is like it's just you don't use it as much as you think. So it'll take you a long time.
It doesn't burn through too quick. This will be interesting because I want to say I was reading about the one I got, the grill I got, and it's a 4 burner. So what's great is you can just use a half of it if you want to, if you just got like a small little thing to do. But man, I'm like daydreaming about those big, like, all right, we got people coming over. I'm going to put on like 10 burgers and smash them. It's going to be amazing.
That's when you become the hero.
I'm going to be the hero, Rick.
You're going to be the hero. You're going to be the person putting smiles on people's faces.
Yeah, they're going to be like, oh my God, you're the best.
Yeah, you're feeding them. And then you just tell them, no, you don't bring any food. You just bring me booze.
Poteet's going to be like, well, your wife let me kiss you over this grill. Yes, you will.
No, you just take the kiss. You just take it. It's like, just come here, bro.
You find out. Come on in here.
Let's go.
Oh man. No, I'm really looking forward to it. I think the other thing I've got coming, and it's not going to be here for another week or so, is I got the silicone like egg rings.
Oh yeah.
So you can crack the egg right into them, and it'll kind of contain it for you. Like
honestly, just go to Wally World and see what they have on clearance, because that stuff's going on clearance now.
I got it from there. Okay. So it's really cheap too. Like it's Blackstone brand, but it's like a big silicone pad that just has a bunch of circles in it.
Oh, okay.
And so you can just crack them into there, and they're like perfect sandwich size. Keeps them from getting too big.
We ended up picking them up for like $10 or something.
Oh, amazing.
On clearance. Well, because our Walmart, so outdoor cooking in Austin is actually quite rare.
Oh yeah, because it's so hot, right?
No, it's not because it's hot. It's just because of the type of city it is. It's a lot of professionals. You might have the outdoorsy person that just kind of goes, like they go proper like hiking and camping, and they don't have all this stuff. And there's very few people that actually do outdoor cooking here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why barbecue places are so popular in Austin, because nobody's gonna really cook barbecue. So like, in order for me to get good quality beef, like I'm sure you've heard of HEB.
Yeah.
So we have an HEB 2 minutes down the road from my house. But I can't go over there and get like the giant beef dino ribs. I have to go out of town, which is 15 minutes away.
Oh, so far.
Yeah, which to get the good like beef ribs and stuff like that. So it's not a big scene here.
That Flintstones flip the car over rib.
Yeah, those are amazing to cook as well.
We went to Orlando to visit Sheets and his wife, and there was, I think it's called Three Rivers. It's either Three Rivers or Four Rivers. I can't remember, but this guy just started. He was just doing his own, kind of like what you're doing. He's just cooking all the time and loving it. And he would do like barbecue plates for his church, right? Like he'd do barbecue plates, and for whatever fundraiser they were doing once or twice a year. People loved his shit so much, they were like, you got to open a place. And he did, and it blew up in Orlando. He ended up with like 3 locations, and he ended up in Atlanta. And that was the first place I'd ever actually seen someone do one of the big dinosaur ribs. And that's what my wife got when we went there in Orlando. And we got all of our food, and then they were like, oh, yours comes out separate because it's cooked to order every time, right? And they brought it out, and I was like, what the hell is that? I'd never seen a rib that big. It's so incredible. And it was so delicious.
It's a monstrosity.
It looks like a cartoon. It looks like someone drew it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't look real.
No, they're expensive.
Yeah. It's a lot of meat.
They're really, well, if you go to a barbecue place, they're ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
But like, you can get like a 3 bone rack, and they're like $40 or something. You can go to Costco and get them for like $50 for 2 racks of those things.
Yeah.
So cooking them is not too bad. It's just buying them. You're like, oh, I guess I'm eating ramen for the next couple of weeks.
I guess I'm all right with that. Ramen, like what I love about ramen is you can church it up so easily. Like you could absolutely just like, all right, let me soft boil an egg and drop it in there. Let me cut up some green onion, and you can make it work.
Oh, for sure.
But we've been talking about food for fucking ever. Now I'm hungry again, even though I ate before we got started. What was the other thing? Oh, I sent you that punk rock NBA video today.
God, that thing.
About metal and hard rock, and how it's kind of that he thinks in a weird place. Finn McKenty is the host, and I actually enjoy some of his videos. I think he's very, very opinionated, and he's very like, this is the way I think things are, and I think that's what works for a lot of YouTubers, right? You want those extreme opinions, right? But I was like watching it, I was like, okay, this is the music I was into in the 90s. Like, so the things he was bringing up was like, he was talking about how like any music festival now, you're still seeing the same headliners you saw back in the 90s and early 2000s. So like Korn and, Nine Inch Nails and all these bands. Like he said, you could absolutely put two posters next to each other and it would look like the same show was happening. And one was in 95 and one was in, 2 weeks ago. And I was like watching it, I was like, oh, Rick's really into this music too. Like you like a lot of that stuff. You like heavy music. And that's why I sent it over to you. And I was like, I wonder what Rick thinks about this. Like, how do you feel? How do you feel about that?
And I as soon as I watched it, I was like, I forgot what I wrote you.
Oh, I'll bring it up. But
so the guy was angry because there wasn't enough innovation into the music.
Right.
But these bands are still creating new music.
They are. Yeah. You said I don't see a problem with being stuck in the past. Most of those bands are still creating new music. I'm not really sure how innovative music can actually get. They're in that genre for a reason. I think that man wants innovation. If he wants innovation, he needs to look into the electronic music scene.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's not rock. It's not metal.
But here's the thing. Here's what I will give him. He wasn't shitting on them. He was like, they're still good bands.
Yeah.
He's just like, they're all getting old though. Like, and I kind of agree that there's like, we know a lot of rock dudes. They're kind of locked in on what they like at this point in their lives, right? And I think the problem is they're locked in on what they like. And also the guys that are our age and that we were going to concerts with in high school and early college ages, right? We're all the ones that have jobs and money right now. So what do we do? We want to go see something familiar. We want to know we're going to have a good time. I mean, I can't remember the last time I took a chance and just went to see a band live and been like, all right, let's see how this goes. Like I did that all the time when I was a young kid because what's $5 to get into this show? Let's go, or something like that. Yeah. And I just think that it's a case of it's not as cut and dry as he put it, right? I think it's more the fact that like at this point everyone has like concert promoters and bands and the people who spend money on that stuff have kind of figured out what works for them. And why would you take that? Like he even said in the video, like why would they take that chance and like having a whole festival that just bombs because they have these new bands headlining? And it makes sense. It's just not, I don't think music's taken in the same way. Like, how did you find out about most of the bands that when you were in high school, right? Liner notes. Like, I always read, like, who are they thinking? Who's that band? Who the hell is, who the hell is this band that they're thinking? And who's this person? And then it was seeing other bands open for the bands you wanted to go see.
Yeah, well, like, my music experience was totally different. I didn't know what, like, really like rock was or metal was until I moved to Texas.
Oh, okay. See, I thought you were always a metalhead. I didn't know that.
No. I was always into like rap, hip hop, house music, things like that, because that's what I was surrounded by.
Yeah.
I mean, in high school, there was like, the football players, they were big into like Nine Inch Nails. And I actually had that conversation with my wife today. It's like, I never really I've heard of the names, but I didn't know who Ozzy Osbourne was. I didn't know who AC/DC was. Like, I knew the names, but I never listened to the music. But at the same time, it was like kind of growing up in an era where all I had was pretty much radio.
Yeah.
So I didn't have cable, so I was never exposed. I still remember when the first time I heard about Korn was like being a kid and having the internet at school. That one computer that had the internet in the computer room.
Yeah.
And we'd go to chat rooms. Totally dating myself right now.
The internet changed everything, man.
Yeah. But there's all these kids like corn is the best, corn, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why are they spelling corn wrong?
Right.
Why are they spelling it with a K? I didn't know who the hell they were.
Yeah.
So
it's such a weird, tricky slope, right? It's like one of those things where you're like, I understand the frustration. Like they're really not. It's harder to pass the torch now because everything is so flash in the pan, right? So you might have, just like before, you might have like a one hit wonder that pops up here and there, but like at this point, everyone's just like, how do we maximize the dollar? I can't be taking chances on seeing if, a ton of people want to come see Bring Me the Horizon, or am I going to have more people come and see Metallica, right? You're going to have way more people come see Metallica. It's just that's just the fact of the matter. But I understand that there at some point will be a problem, but I don't think it's as dire and as drastic as the host of this video made it out to be, because when those bands go away, people still are going to want to go to concerts and they're just going to go see these other bands. Like they're going to.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many genres of music that there are way more music festivals than the ones he mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
He just mentioned the whole mainstream music festivals, the ones that you've heard of, but there's like so many rock and metal shows that are out there, so many festivals that get sold out that you don't hear about because they're not mainstream.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not that they have bad music or whatever. They just don't fit whatever I guess the mainstream media would want to hear.
Sure. I mean, I know about Furnace Fest in Birmingham. I had heard of it before. I didn't really pay too much attention to it, but this year I'm looking at it. I'm like, holy shit! Like I know all these bands, and a lot of them haven't been together in a long time. Like they're kind of riding that wave of like. It's interesting because I talked to our buddy J-Pod, and I wish we had sat down and done a podcast while he was here, but it's interesting to look at our music, right? What regardless of what genre you're into, hip hop, pop, or rock and metal, like we're at that age right now where all this stuff works for us because we're about 20 years removed from all the stuff we grew up listening to, and all these bands are now like, oh, it's been 20 years since we released this album. We're going to go out and just tour and play that album from front to back. And like, they're hitting the sweet spot of all the people that grew up listening to them now are the people who are buying all the shit. Like, so it's just I think it's just a nice natural progression of things.
Oh, on top of that, these people are introducing them to their kids as well.
Yeah.
And the music is universally loved, so these kids are like, hey, they're having a good time. You'll see a baby, probably jamming out to Slipknot or something, right? Because the rhythm, you just feel it and it's just there.
Or they see their parents just getting excited and dancing to something.
Yeah.
Like my kid is like, I don't know what it is. Like you just put on anything with a good beat. It could be rock, it could be rap, it could be whatever, and all of a sudden she just starts, like, no one taught her. She just starts bouncing. It's like, oh, this stuff is like built into your DNA. Like, it's not like, and she just started like, it started with like her little toys and stuff. I'll tell you right now, the songs that get stuck in my head right now are all the songs that her toys play. I'm just like, I'll just be like sitting there brushing my teeth and be like, welcome to our learning farm. We've got much to show you. Shapes and colors, music too. There's so much to do. I'm just like, God damn it. It's stuck in my head.
Yeah, now turn that into like a metal one-hit wonder.
Oh man, was it Kid Bops? And then they did someone went and did like, they took metal songs and they just had kids sing them for a while.
Yeah, I know there was like a Metallica Lullaby compilation or something a while back.
Yeah, kids go metal, stuff like that.
Yeah,
just insane.
But even then, there's some metal bands that would actually bring kids to sing.
Yeah,
like Machine Head did that. I think onto the Locust album, and it was just beautiful.
Man.
I mean, I think POD probably did it first, but there was a choir.
Machine, yeah. I remember when POD did the choir. Machine Head, yeah, they did that thing. Machine Head's one of those bands that I always was aware of, and I didn't, like, when they were on, I didn't mind it. I just never got the chance to go see them. I went and saw so many bands around that time, and Machine Head would, like, I'd just miss them, or like they were, they would come and like I just wasn't able to go or something like that. Like, but Machine had a bunch of really cool dudes. Like just from the videos I've watched of them. Like there's one whole thing. Like I don't know how into Pantera you are.
Oh, I love Pantera.
I do too, but I hate Phil.
Phil's. I have Vinnie Paul story.
Oh,
Phil, but Phil, I like Phil.
Yeah, he's okay.
I like Phil. I mean, he had kind of a rough going.
Mm-hmm.
And they were in the whole cancel culture thing, and they were trying to cancel Pantera.
Yeah.
On TikTok, and it's like, and I know people were saying that he was racist and stuff.
He did have a couple of shows where he was yelling white power.
I mean, but then even now he's got he was doing his band is called Phil Anselmo and the Illegals,
mm-hmm. which
half of his bandmates are Mexican.
Sure.
So it's kind of I don't know, you were talking about it with Sean, and it's kind of we've all done dumb shit in the past.
We have. Phil's
get canceled.
Yeah.
If we had social media back in the day.
That's true. It's true. There's just some stuff with Phil where I'm just kind of like, that feels like you believe it a little too hard sometimes.
Well, it's kind of like the people that have, racist tattoos that they got when they were younger too, right?
Yeah.
It's like they changed their stand. They probably hung around the wrong people, or that's all they knew until they realized, life doesn't have to be like this, right?
Yeah, people can change, for sure. For sure. Not too long ago, I definitely saw, speaking of racist tattoos, I definitely was stopped at a stoplight and looked over and saw a dude with his arm hanging out of his truck with a giant swastika on his arm. And I was like, oh, I hadn't seen that. I hadn't seen that face to face before.
I've seen him on TV.
I've seen him on TV. I've seen him on documentaries, stuff like that. But I was like, oh, wow, that's a real one right there. Whoa. I just hadn't, it was just kind of surreal because it's kind of like when you see a band you've been really wanting to see and you're out in the crowd and they come out on the stage, you're like, oh, I've been watching videos of these guys and reading the liner notes of all their albums and seeing pictures of them, and now they're right there. It was like that, but with Nazis.
Well, I was so when I started getting into metal and really expanding into music, I kind of people were shocked that I knew bands like Screwdriver and things like that, because everybody knows Screwdriver is it's literally a racist band.
Yeah.
But people were like, Screwdriver? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just seeing what they're about. It's like.
Yeah, well, and also back when I was getting into a lot of metal bands, information didn't travel like it did. I watched a video yesterday or the day before that was talking about there's a lot of Nazism in black metal, a lot. Because I mean it's from a lot of Nordic countries. It's got very much a vibe to it. And it was a pretty cool video though. It's basically this guy was like, here's how you find out if the bands you're listening to are racist. The black metal bands you're listening to are racist. Look for these runes. There's old Celtic runes and all these all this imagery and just what their lyrics are about. And when they're asked about their influences, you can usually tell if they attribute their influences to this one guy and they don't at least mention that he had a fucked up ideology, you can usually kind of deduce based off of other interviews. And it's always interesting to look at that to me because, I don't know, I guess I never really thought about, I mean, we had movies like American History X where you had, clearly it was depicting Nazis that were into hardcore music and that were into some crazy stuff. But I didn't realize until I was older that even hardcore and punk music and stuff like that, they had these factions that were very much fuck racists and very much we're racist. It's so wild to me to see. So I don't know what it is about me. I like these little mini documentaries where people are just kind of talking about how, oh, you didn't know this band was like this. Here's all these examples of of this guy just being anti-Semitic as hell, and just like finding out about this stuff, and you're like, wow, I didn't realize. You know, you just don't know, because when you're a kid, you're just kind of like, oh, this music fucking rocks. You're not really listening to the words, you know.
Yeah, and I'm one of those people that I've never listened to words.
Yeah.
You know, and you can obviously tell their commercials like that. It was like that. What was it, like a one Subway commercial, which played "Blister in the Sun"?
Oh yeah.
Violent Femmes.
Yeah, and there was that whole string of Subway commercials with that Jared guy in it too, who was who ended up having his own deal.
Yeah. Oh, Jared.
Good old Jared. But yeah, like it's interesting because like I mean, I know you brought up cancel culture, and like, I don't know, I think it's good that the information's out there, because I like, not necessarily that I want anyone to be canceled, but I think it's nice to know that all the information is there and you can decide for yourself, right? You can decide your level of involvement, Project Mayhem style, you know?
Definitely.
Because there is like a, you know, kind of like what me and Death talked about with what you would allow to go on in your chats, what you would allow to go on in your community is a reflection of you, right? Like if someone's in there being a total asshole, sexist, you know, or racist or something like that, and you don't say anything or you don't boot them, like it's silent complicity, right? Like you're like maybe you're not complicit, right? Maybe you're not, but like it's the perception of what the community thinks of, like, why is Lopez letting this guy stick around and he's just shit talking girls all the time?
Well, people like have that whole mentality, and the whole thing, like, you know, people are try-harding to grow, and they don't want to ban people because I don't want to lose that viewer.
I love losing those viewers.
No,
but I'm old.
Well, at the same time, it's kind of like you do got to set your boundaries. I had to ban one of our friends' partners before I quit streaming.
I remember you telling me about this. Go ahead and tell the story, though.
Because they were straight up insulting me because I didn't want to play a game that they wanted me to play. I'm like, no, that's not my type of game. Oh, it's because you suck and you're a pussy. I was like, what? No. And that threw me off for a loop. But I was so upset. I banned them and had to end the stream.
Yeah, people throw you those curveballs sometimes, right? Like you're like, I don't know where this is coming from, but I've had to like quell. I don't think I've ever had anything super racist come in. I've had people that like invaded my Discord and were dropping a bunch of shit, and thankfully people like you and people like the other mods like Carrion and S'mores were like there to kind of quash all that before it became a problem. And we put in some things that would kind of protect us from that in the future. But like, I've definitely had to like quash some sexism stuff where someone was being like a little too, it like, you know, like there's light joking, like, which we've always done all our lives. Like, I don't think we've ever seriously, like, at least me, I don't think I've ever seriously like insulted somebody, you know, where it's like, I really believe what I'm saying. Right. But you could tell, sometimes you can just tell with the way some people are, you're like, oh, this guy like really believes what he's saying. Like, it's not just a joke anymore, because it's just like, usually if you're joking, it's just like you kind of tag it and then you move on, right? But like, they're kind of like, okay, you're lingering on this a little too long, and I'm just kind of like, dude, you gotta fucking stop, or we're fucking not gonna do this anymore.
No, and that can easily go into another like offline episode, right? But it's just kind of talking about like, you know, the straight up sexism or the hate that goes on in Twitch.
Oh man, it's
real. Like, you know, recently, well, not recently, but whenever the whole hot tub streamer thing, movie streamer thing, whatever you want to call it, e-girl thing came out, like, I got attacked.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it depends too, right? Like, it's, you do have a contingency of people's like, and they're entitled to their opinion. Like, this is ruining Twitch, or this is not what this is about. And it's kind of like, but it is. Like, they like, you got to get past the fact like Twitch is here to make money. Like, so they want the eyes. And here's the thing about your eyes. They don't have to be watching that. Watch the thing you want to watch. Vote with your click. Vote with your dollars. Go to the places you want to see. And if more money gets pumped into that, guess what? Twitch is going to focus on that again. So if you really think it's all about that, you're just fucking kidding yourself. Like, Twitch is about what's going to get people to show up and hang out. You know, if it's someone sitting there reading a book silently, which they did as an April Fool's joke, and I think it was fucking hilarious, then Twitch is going to put that on the front page. Like, if there's 10,000 people watching, you know, a bunch of channels that they do just that, that's what's going to be there. That's what's going to be on display.
No, it's definitely an interesting monster. And I'm still a firm believer that all the people who are complaining, they're like, oh, they're stealing our viewers. They're not your viewers to begin with.
Yeah, you don't want those people in your chat. You really don't.
Yeah. No, those are streamers.
Yeah.
Right. These are streamers. And they're like, and you know, I never spoke to any of them. I never retaliated until my buddy and I did that video talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I posted it in that thread. And of course, nobody watched it.
Oh, yeah. No one watched it. Because everyone's kind of like locked into where they're going to be with that kind of opinion.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you're not going to convince me otherwise. It's just like talking politics with anyone. You're like, you know what you already believe. And, you know, there's no point in having this conversation. You know, it's how I feel with some of my family members. Like, there's no point in having this conversation because you already know how you feel.
Yeah.
And it sucks. But like, no one's willing to kind of separate themselves from that.
Or they're not willing to make the change to grow. Like, they're like, oh, it's going back to streamer. Let's not get sidetracked by all the politics crap.
Sure. No, that's fine. Yeah.
But, you know, the whole streamer, like other streamers, I can't get any viewers or whatever. And I would go look at their content and I'm like, you're just sitting there.
Looking around. Yeah. Just
not saying a word.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying a word. And I'm like, okay, why are people going to sit there and watch you?
Well, You're
not doing anything. Yeah.
Death put it a great way. Like, here's the thing. Most people are listening to you while they're doing something else. And if you're not saying anything and you're not providing anything to their ears, then they're going to be like, well, I can't take the silence. Because most people just don't want the silence, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's such an interesting beast, man. It really, really is. I don't, there's sometimes you deal with, like, you sit there and you're like, okay, we can get through this and we can have a show. And then some nights you're just kind of like, I don't know why I'm doing this shit. What am I doing this for?
No, you got to remind yourself you do it because it's fun and you enjoy it.
Yeah, you have to enjoy it, right? It's got to be something that you absolutely want to do. Otherwise, it shows. It shows every time.
Yeah.
What have you been? So when you turn on YouTube, do you have any like go-tos, like types of videos, channels that you go to?
So lately, I just watched the documentary for Guar on Shudder.
Oh, they got a documentary for Guar?
Yes.
Did it just come out?
It just came out. It was actually came out in the theaters first, like in select theaters. But we missed it for whatever reason.
Am I going Bloody Mary now, by the way? Bloody Mary is the next one?
Yes, it's Bloody Mary. Hold
Bloody
on.
Mary. Guar. Dude, it's about that time of year. I usually get Shudder for about 3 or 4 months that surround Halloween because it's perfect. They got their live stream, they got their live channels, and then they've got obviously all their content, but I mean, it's like just perfect for that time of year, for the fall. Shudder just feels like a fall type of service.
Well, if you have AMC Plus, it comes with it.
Oh. I don't know. I don't think I have AMC Plus, but
so I ended up buying AMC Plus because it was on sale for like $20 for a year.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
It reminds me of V8. Like,
it's gonna have a nice little aftertaste. That's gonna come in, like, sting a little.
Yeah, I can feel it in the back of the throat.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm dealing with that. That's good.
But we ended up buying Shudder. They had like or AMC Plus. They had a promotion.
Yeah.
It was $20 for the year, so I got to make sure I cancel it. I have an alarm set up to cancel it.
I do that all the time too. I'm just gonna like, this is over. I said it like a week or two before. I'm like, do you want to keep that? And it's almost always no.
No, it's no.
It's no.
But no, the Guar documentary is like, actually, I think we have a special connection when it comes to Guar. My Instagram picture, my profile picture, is a picture with Guar and I.
Oh, very nice.
So it's my best friend and I posing with Guar. Walking down 6th Street, downtown Austin during South by Southwest, which I also took my mom to go see Guar. So
What'd your mom think of Guar?
My mom's a super tiny Mexican woman who took her phone to the front of the stage and was getting other people to take pictures of Guar for her while they're playing.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but my wife, I think one of our first concerts we went to go see, we were supposed to see Cradle of Filth.
Yeah.
But Guar opened up, and I had already heard of them. Never listened to their music, but we saw Guar, and we're like, this is the greatest thing ever.
It's when the original lead singer was alive too, right?
Yes.
Yep. Otis, right?
Otis Urungus.
Otis Urungus, that's right. Man, I've never seen Guar live. Never seen him live.
You don't want to see him live.
I heard it's an experience, though.
It's an addiction.
Is it really?
Dude, these guys are so incredibly talented musicians while wearing costumes and having a theatrical play.
Yeah. Damn. I just remember the video, like when I was in high school, of people getting up on stage and getting eaten by the worm, the giant worm, and they would just get pushed in there.
Jerry Springer, those were like in the 90s, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was like mid 90s for sure. And and Otis would always be on Jerry.
Yeah.
And he would always be on he was like a regular guest on the Daily Show at one point too.
So Guar was probably like one of the few times, like living in Austin, you run into a lot of celebrities.
Sure.
But Guar was like the band that I was like totally starstruck with. The guitarist was trying to get me to buy him a beer, and I was still starstruck, and I'm like, you want me to? I just want to hug you. You might murder me, but I just want to hug you.
Yeah, it's interesting what would, and a lot of people, there's people who are easily starstruck, and then there's people who like the weird things starstruck. Like I've met a lot of pretty big celebrities, just from doing radio and from being up in New York for a little while doing radio up there, and I don't know, it's always like the smaller celebrities, like it's like comedians you meet and stuff like that always start, because it's like always seems to be people that I hear a lot of their words. Like if I listen to a lot of their stand up, or if I've listened to a lot of their podcasts, I'm just kind of like, this is wild, because now we're talking and this is something that you're used to having in your ears for hours and hours on end, right? But then like you meet somebody that's, a celebrity. Like I met Ronnie James Dio, right, when he was still alive.
Oh, yeah.
I met Dio when him and Black Sabbath were together in 2007-ish. They got back together and did like some sort of like greatest release hit or something like that, or greatest hit release, and they were touring, and they came in and talked to the Opie and Anthony show, and it was the entire band. So it was basically Black Sabbath with Ronnie James Dio and not Ozzy. And they were all really nice. I was an intern. I had to get them all coffee, and I go get their order and everything. And Ronnie James Dio was like the nicest person ever, voice of a satanic angel, right? Like he's the metal guy, right? And he was so tiny and he was so nice. And like, I remember at one point they had wrapped up the interview, and I was like carrying stuff out of the studio, and he like jumped up out of his seat and like ran over and like opened the door for me. I'm just like, you're Ronnie James Dio. Like, just, you don't have to do this. Like, it was just so shocking to me. Right. But it was cool, but I was never like, I think I purposely just kind of psyched myself up to be like, just fucking treat them like they're normal people. Like,
yeah,
because so many people are like, I'm such a big fan. And you're like, and they just get tired of hearing it, So like, if you're going to leave any impression, they might not remember it, but just being like, hey, what's going on? How are you doing? How you feeling? Like, just talk about anything but what they do,
Yeah.
They love that shit.
No, they do, and those probably what sticks with them the most. And I kind of understand why the appeal of Austin is for all these celebrities to move here to. because nobody's going to bother them. Right? People might say, hey, I love your stuff, and just move on.
Yeah.
That's about it. People.
Yeah, you're not getting mobbed, right?
Yeah. Here, people are usually pretty chill about that. And of course, like the metal guys, like any like crazy metal guy, you usually are the nicest people in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're usually the nicest people in the world. I know we had we didn't have an incident with Adrian Brody, but he was there when they were filming the movie Predators.
Okay.
That's what I understood. Is it was filmed here in Austin. I'm not too sure.
Mm-hmm.
But we had this bar, one of our local joints that we used to go to downtown called Tiniest Bar in Texas. And it was literally like a stand on the side of a building with a giant patio.
Right.
And then like this giant, scary looking German dude who was the nicest dude in the world. But he looked scary as shit. And we were just kind of sitting down. We were meeting some friends. There was nobody there. And there's Adrian Brody. And then somebody started talking to us. Because that's usually people are pretty good about like, hey, can I sit with you? We're like, yeah, whatever. And they were like, yeah, I just went to try to talk to him. And he was kind of like, leave me the fuck alone. And I'm like, I don't blame the dude.
Right.
He's there by himself, just kind of leave him alone.
Yeah. It's interesting because I've never, I'm trying to think of like anyone I've dealt with that was like a real prick. And I really haven't. Like I really have. I think the times I've thought people were being pricks, I think it was just kind of a like time gave me perspective on what the situation was. Like I went and saw Korn when I was in middle school on their Life is Peachy tour, and opening for them was a band that no one had ever heard of before called Limp Bizkit. And they didn't have an album out. They had like one T-shirt at the stand. Like no one had heard, like their first album hadn't even come out yet. And like they came out and melted everyone's face because they do a really good stage show. Like they really do. Lots of energy and stuff like that. And then like while Korn was playing, like I remember I needed to step out and get some air because it was hot as fuck in the venue we were in. And this is the time, and this is again, it goes back to what we were talking about, finding new music, right? Like if you remember back in the mid to late 90s and early 2000s, the bands that opened were walking around the crowd handing out demo tapes.
Yeah.
They were handing out like, here's 2 or 3 songs off our new album. Like, check it out and see if you like it. And when the album comes out, please buy it, kind of thing. And, I'm sitting out there in the lobby. I'm like having a drink of water or whatever. And dumb Fred Durst walks up to me with his Kangol hat on and the whole Fred Durst get up, right? And hands me a fucking tape. And I was like, oh, hey, dude, you guys are really good. You guys are going to be really big one day. I told him that. Like I said that to him and he was like, like kept walking. And I was just kind of like, what a prick, like in my head. But then like, as I've gotten older, I'm just kind of like, yeah, he probably had the proper reaction to a 14-year-old telling him like, your guys are awesome. Like he probably heard that like so many times, right? Not that you stop appreciating that, but I think it's just kind of like you can only take the words of a 14-year-old so seriously, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I still bought the first 2 or 3 albums, like it wasn't one of those things that turned me off to it, but I was just kind of like, at the time I was kind of like, oh, it's kind of a dick. Like, but yeah, that's like the closest. But even then, like looking back on it as like an almost 40-year-old person now, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's essentially him looking at me was like me looking at like my youngest brother, right? Saying something like, oh, it's awesome. Something like that. But I just, I think that most music guys, like they're just so used to being around people anyway, that it's, unless they're like a really big diva of a person or of a personality, they're just so laid back because they get all that aggression out on stage, and they're just kind of like, I just want to have a beer and chill the fuck out. Kind of fucking wild.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, and I kind of, not that I'm saying I'm a celebrity or anything, but there's times where people try to put me on the spot. You got to do this. And I'm like,
no, man. That's going to make me not do it so fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, no. Like, Rick Loves Bacon is not here.
Yeah.
Here you got Ricardo.
Do that thing. Do that thing you're doing. Like, no, I don't want to.
No, go eat a bag of Richards.
So that is a bag of Richards. But that's how a celebrity feels at all times, you know? Especially someone who's like typecast, right? Someone who like a Dwight Schrute, like, you know, type situation, like like anybody who's just like they're known for the one thing, and everybody's just kind of like, you're that guy
Ron
that
Swanson.
does right. You know, I don't know. I can see. I honestly, the older I get, the more I realize, like, maybe they're not being dicks. Maybe they just are tired of people. It's like maybe there's that. Maybe there's just the fact that they're just like, I can't deal with people right now.
So I mean, some people do it in a very elegant way.
Mm-hmm.
They're not a super famous band, but they're well known. I forgot what show their song was on, but a band called She Wants Revenge.
I remember that band.
So we went to see them since when they started.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot who we went to go see, and they were playing, and we like fell in love with them, and we kept seeing them on the shows, and the singer remembered us. Super cool guy, and one time I went up to him. I think it was like the third show that I had seen him play. And I went to go say hi. I was like, dude, I really love your new stuff and blah, blah. And he was like, hey, if you don't mind, I'm really enjoying this music right now, and I just kind of want to listen to it. I'm like, oh, that totally.
Sure.
And I respected it. I was like, dude, totally. Yeah. Right? And I stepped away. But at the same time, later on, he made sure, and we had like a full-on conversation outside by the tour bus.
Yeah.
Like, the guy was super nice. The only time he became a dick was like when some random dude is like, here's our album.
Yeah. Trying to get a leg up.
Yeah. He's like, here's our album. He just kind of went like, ugh.
So me and Death talked about, like, you can tell when people are being opportunists and when people are being genuine, right? And just wanting to hang out and just talk shit, like, not gain something from it.
Yeah.
And
yeah, no. Those
guys, musicians and celebrities deal with that all the time, where it's just kind of like, what do you want from me?
Or when people, like, Death mentioned this, like when people pay and they expect something in return.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I had people, so before, it's weird the way I've worked with my channel, but it's not something that I've always tried to do. It's kind of like grow and become partner. That's never been a goal. I'm just having fun. If it does well, it does well. It's fine.
Right.
But then kind of start looking at analytics every time I've ended, because I've ended several times and came back. Like, the channel was doing very, very well. And if I would have kept up that momentum going, I probably would have already been partnered now.
Sure.
But you start to realize when you're getting to that point where, like, I had several people like donate like $10 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and this was like when hosting started becoming a thing. Hey, can you put me on your host list?
Oh.
I donated $10. I'm like, seriously?
No, you want the $10 back? That's why I was like, can I just give you that back and not do that? That'd be great.
I'm like, whatever, dude. That was just kind of my response. It's just like, whatever. It's just whatever.
I mean, there's a game to play, right? There is a game to play in itself that's not even the video game you're playing when it comes to Twitch. Like, there's a finesse to it. There's like, okay, like you said, maybe you do a couple more hours with this many people, get the average up of people watching. Like, I get it. And some people can do that game. Like, it feels weird to me sometimes. Like, but I understand why people do it. And I know people that are very successful at what they do with Twitch. And I don't blame any of them for doing what they do. Because I feel like the people that I decide to be around and watch and interact with are genuine about what they're doing. Like, you can tell when someone truly wants to be there, right? And truly wants this thing to happen. And you can tell when someone is just kind of like just phoning it in and trying to get there. And then it almost without fail, they reach partner, they reach a certain level, and they're like, well, I'm good. Or they just stop altogether. How many times have you seen a person reach partner and then all of a sudden they're not streaming within a month or two after that?
Oh, a lot. A lot.
There's no carrot anymore. The carrot's gone.
I mean, I have friends that like, I don't know, they're more of acquaintances, but they're like, especially when the requirements to actually become partner came out, they're like, oh, it's so good that Twitch now has this requirement. I know what to strive for, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I can see what your point is. Normally, I tell people it's like, hey, because people will ask me for advice, and I'm like, what's your motivation to stream? Oh, first, I want to become affiliate and make my way to partner. I'm like, I'm honest. I'm like, just quit.
Yeah.
Just quit. Because it's like, if that's your goal, man, you got a long, you're setting yourself down for a big setback, a big fall.
There was a point in time where I wanted that. There was a point in time where I was like, I want to be a partner. But it wasn't like, there's a difference between like striving toward a goal and having that thing be what motivates you to do the thing. Right? Like, it's like, that'd be great. I want to be partner. Sure, that'd be great. That'd be good. But the only reason why I'm doing this is to become partner and make money. Like, there's a big difference there.
There's a big difference. And then the thing is, like, people aren't self-aware, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know I'm not for everybody. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. If somebody hosts me and I've had this happen where people have hosted me for like 900 people, and then an hour later, there's just my friends again.
Right.
You know, those people are there for that personality. They're not there for my personality.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't blame them for sticking around. It's like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea.
I never take it personally when people raid in and they're gone. Like, that's, I don't expect anything else, right? I don't expect everyone to stick around. And I've seen where people do get fucking hurt by the fact that, oh man, 200 people just showed up. And then all of a sudden they're right back down to the, 20, 30 they were at before. Yeah. And you can feel them deflate. And you're like, dude, fucking most of those people were just kind of listening in the background. And now their person's gone. Like, there's no one's being personal about it.
Yeah, no, it's just whatever they find entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, that's kind of why I've always hated looking at my numbers. I hated looking at my numbers.
Yeah. I quit doing that pretty quickly.
Yeah. And that's the thing I hate about TikTok, that you can't get rid of your numbers.
Oh, I'd love that.
That live number is, I'm like, oh my God, I hate this.
Piece of tape. Just put it over the thing. Done.
Yeah, but that's also where like the end button is at.
Like, we want you to know how bad you suck tonight. Press the end button.
Yeah, there's the end button. I'm like, God damn it. And I just hate looking at it. It's kind of like drives me nuts.
But that's the motivation, right? Like, because it's a self-fulfilling cycle with something like TikTok, where it's like, all right, we want people to be watching and interacting with TikTok at all times. We also want people to be motivated to be putting things into TikTok. Like, it's such a weird cycle of things, because you could do a podcast, right? Like, we're doing this podcast. I don't know how many people will listen to it. I have no idea how many people will download it or whatever the fuck, right? I can tell how many people watch the YouTube video, and I can get a rough sense of what the downloads are, but it's not affecting me right now because I can't see what that's going to be. And that's amazing, right? It's almost demoralizing to have to look at that number, right? I turned all my Twitch stuff off long ago. The only thing I ever look at is chat. Like, I really don't have anything else I look at. I turn everything off except for like the amount of time I've been live. Like, because you can turn all that stuff off in the dashboard or whatever. And it's just kind of like, I just need to know how long I've been on, because I'll just get lost and I'll look up and I'll be like, I've been live for 5 hours. What the fuck, man? I got to go to bed,
I see the people that have like the viewer counter on their screen.
Or the sub count. Like, what?
I just cringe. And the sub count I get.
Yeah, sure.
I get the sub count.
It's a goal, sure.
The sub counter, I get the follower goal and everything. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, I see the viewer count with that little Twitch logo there, and I'm like, why are you doing that to yourself?
Yeah. Some of it might be, I know with like when you're streaming on console, sometimes you have to like really dig to find how to turn that off.
In console, there's no way around it, I think.
It just stays there.
It just stays there.
That fucking sucks because streaming from console blows.
Yeah.
It's not good.
I started on console.
It's not a good experience.
I started on. It was horrible. It was a horrible experience.
I still know people that stream from console. I don't blame them. Like, it's just what you have.
Yeah,
but
you got to make it work.
It feels terrible. It feels awful. And some people can pull it off. Well, I mean, I think when I met Curdy, I think she was streaming on. No, she had just moved to PC. She was on a laptop. You know what I'm saying?
I remember the laptop. Yeah,
the laptop days, right? And it was just like, and she had like a shitty headset mic and like all this stuff. But you know, I think it's a good jumping off point, right? I think there's a good way to start about things, and like honestly, like to dip your toe, console's not bad. If it's just like something you do every once in a while, if it's something that you're thinking about doing, you could be like, let me see how I like it. And then as you get used to streaming to no one, because that's what you do when you stream from console usually, and you get like minimal like chat interaction, but you figure out how to talk while nothing's going on, then you can be like, I want to keep doing this. And that's like the motivation to be like, okay, I need to build something or buy something and stream from a PC. But I think people just want to jump headlong, and that's what I wanted to kind of pick Death's brain about last week. Is like, if people want to jump headlong into like, I want this mic, but I haven't hit live for the first time yet, right? You know, it's kind of like, well, how about you try it out? Because then you might have spent a lot of money on a microphone and an interface that you didn't need to spend because you figured out, you know, a month or two later you didn't like doing it anyway.
Well, even then, it's like, okay, so this microphone, like I think certain mics, you have to try them on for size.
You do.
I feel like this microphone complements my voice better than other microphones I've tried.
Yeah.
And this is why the reason I fell in love with it. Of course, it was your recommendation.
Yeah.
But I tried it on for size. You know, well, I went to Guitar Center. I did all the things, and I got to try out different mics. And I was like, this is the one that I want.
But also, there's a difference between trying it on for size and having it be the first thing you bought, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's a big investment to take a chance on. You know.
Well, I mean, even the people don't realize it's like, okay, there's still a lot of things that you have to do, you know, with your mixers, whatever you got going on to get this to sound good for you.
How many mics did you go through before you got to the Electro Voice?
I want to say 5 or 6.
I'd say that's about right. To step up to something like this. The only reason why I jumped to this as quick as I did is because I'd used it before.
Yeah.
You know, in a radio studio. But like, yeah, it's baby steps. You don't have to break the bank to get started.
Well, it was like whatever headset I had at the time, and the headset was surprisingly Plantronics.
Mm-hmm.
Has an amazing microphone.
Was I was around for the headset days, wasn't I?
Yeah, I think you were definitely. No, maybe. No, I think you showed up when I started rocking the Yeti.
Yes.
I was already rocking the Yeti.
Yeah. I think I might have watched some clips or something, and you were still using the headset or something like that.
Yeah, but the Plantronics had an amazing microphone, which I ended up sending one to Poteet.
Yeah.
So that was a really good microphone, but it was like, oh, I need to get the Blue Yeti. And that's when I learned it's like, oh shit, I got to process this.
Yeah.
So that was a big learning curve, because it's like, you can't expect to buy this microphone and sound automatically good. You got to fine tune it, and you got to make sure it's facing the right direction. And it cringes. Oh my God, the cringe factor that I see on Twitch, that I see on, on TikTok, people using their Blue Yeti mics. And for people that don't know, a Blue Yeti mic, you don't point it at your face.
It looks like you should.
It looks like you should, but you don't.
It's a side address.
It's a side address microphone. You literally, in order for it to use it properly, you have to be looking at the blue logo on the side of it.
Yeah.
But I'll see people do this the way we're holding our microphones, just head on, or they'll have it backwards because they have their gain all the way turned up, and they have to have it backwards because they don't realize you can turn down your gain.
And you can hear everything in their room,
Yeah.
like all the like.
Yeah.
Why is it echoing so bad? It's like because you're yelling and it's bouncing off the wall and into your microphone.
It's so bad. It's so bad. I mean, now, good thing now you have better microphones that are cheap.
Yeah.
That have all that built-in software that make life easier. But then people still buy the Blue Yeti, still fuck it up.
I mean, there's just, I think that the people that are doing it right do their research. They figure out, okay, this is what might work for me. Honestly, I think the best thing that I do is if I'm making a big purchase, if I'm buying something new, a new piece of equipment, I'm watching every YouTube video I can find about that piece of equipment. I'm gonna be sick of hearing about it before I'm actually like, I guess I'm pulling the trigger on this Rodecaster. Sounds good. You know,
it's a big investment.
It is. I mean, it's hard to. The least amount of, and I still did a pretty extensive amount of research before I bought the Electro Voice because I was like, well, is it better than the SMB? Is it better than the Shure SM7B? Like, is it, and what it came down to was like, dude, everything I watched was like split on it. Like you could take one or take the other, but what it came down to was I knew I'd used this before. And that was it. That was really it.
Now, for me, it was literally looking at people's sound samples and then like trying to figure out, okay, my voice sounds like this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the SM7B is going to complement my voice like this microphone's going to.
Yeah.
So that's something that you got to take into effect. And that's also kind of like what I push my friends into, the people that don't monitor their hearing, their voice. Because they're like, oh, I can't stand hearing myself. Then why are you streaming? Because people are hearing you.
People are hearing you, so you got to make sure it sounds good.
Yeah, and it's a big difference, and that's why you always see people that are monitoring themselves are always adjusting the microphone.
Yeah, because like, oh, I'm off, I'm bringing it back, like, something like that. And there's two things to me. Like, I don't feel like, especially if you're not used to monitoring yourself, I can understand. I forget who it was I was talking to. Maybe it was Morph. When we hung out at TwitchCon, but it was like we were talking about just the things we did while we streamed. And I was like, "Do you monitor yourself in your headphones?" He goes, "Very low, just to make sure that my voice is going out."
Yeah,
but he didn't monitor it for quality. But his streams sound great, right? So it's whatever makes you comfortable, but you need something to let you know that you're not muted, or something to let you. If I don't have monitoring in my headphones, like, I feel like my mic is turned off. I don't know. It's just what's built into me. If I'm not hearing exactly what you're hearing, it is just, that's all I'll be thinking about, and I can't focus on the conversation or the stream.
That's the big issue that I'm having with TikTok is like, I can't monitor myself. So I'm sure I'm yelling.
Yeah.
And I'm sure my neighbors can hear me fucking yelling and saying stupid shit.
Mm.
But it's kind of like, I have to make sure I'm heard.
Mm.
But since I can't monitor myself, I can't control my voice. Like, obviously, my voice is not that loud here.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't need to be.
Mm. It's, because, like, and when you do need to yell, like the old mic pull away technique.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking God. Like, it's just, you can still get the same effect and not blow the fucking mic out.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm a big fan of monitoring, but that's also how I was trained. So I don't know how I would do it any other way, but I know that there are people that absolutely do it and they don't monitor anything. And I'm just like, that would feel so awkward.
One of our buddies commented on a Twitch streamer's tweet.
Mm-hmm.
He was complaining that his audio was off and nobody told him.
When was the last time he went and looked at a VOD?
That's what our buddy said.
Yeah.
He went on his Twitter and told him, he's like, don't you ever go back and listen to your VODs because that's your job. And he ended up getting blasted by this dude.
So sorry.
Like, it's whatever. He ended up deleting the tweet. And I'm like, that sucks. Because, like, I had mad respect for this dude. But now I'm like, they're just telling you should watch what you're doing.
I mean, why are you saying, I don't know why I sound like shit? And if someone gives you some constructive feedback and being like, hey, are you doing this? And then you get pissed, they're really just mad at themselves.
He just ended up getting mad because chat didn't tell him he sounded like shit.
It's not their job.
That was like a whole rant. It's like, no, your job is to entertain.
Dude, when I got when I got this mic and when I got this interface that I'm using now, that's all I did. Like, that's all I did for like weeks was like, how am I sounding? Do I need to turn something on? Do I need to turn something off? Do I need to crank something up? Like, it's all in how much you give a fuck about it. And if you don't care and you're like, at least I'm being heard, then fine. Like, you just don't be surprised when you find out that something's off.
And you got to have that support system. Like, you were part of my support system when I started really getting into audio.
Yeah.
When I started taking seriously, I bugged you. I was like, hey, how does this sound? And you would come in here and you would record me.
Yeah.
And have me listen to myself and make the adjustments.
Yeah. Because
it have to work.
Even when you're listening in your head, you still have the interference of the sound of yourself talking also affecting what you're hearing. So to have someone else listen to it, or even just for yourself to sit down and be like, I'm going to read this, this paragraph on this setting. I'll read this paragraph on this setting. Like, it's just simple things of like taking the time to be like, all right, we're at -5 dB. I'm going to read this paragraph now. Okay. Now we're at -10 dB and I'm going to read this now, and then going back and listening to that, Oh, is that Ramon?
Yeah, he's a big boy now.
Oh my God, he's so big.
And he's gorgeous.
He is. What a gorgeous cat. My God. What a great cat. Ramon!
There he goes.
How's your timing looking? Probably about to wrap it up. Fine. You're good? You're good?
Yeah, I'm good. We still got one more beer.
Oh shit, yeah, we do. All right, let's open it. Fucking crack it. This is going to be nice and spicy. It's the spicy pickle beer. The last one in the mix pack. Martin House Brewing, best made spicy pickle beer. This is probably I don't feel myself finishing this one, but
it was rough for me.
It smells like, what does that smell like?
Tabasco?
It does smell like a pickle jar, but it smells like something else in it. So
it's like my nose is already like.
It's like hot red. Hang on, I'll hold it up to the thing. It looks like fruit punch Kool-Aid. Look at this thing. It's
For
like
people that can't see me, I'm making funny faces right now.
Deep dark red. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
All right. Honestly, it tastes more like pickle than the rest of them to me. It tastes closer to their original dill pickle beer, but yeah, that's a nice little bite to it. I like it. So I think
heartburn coming on.
Yeah. It's tomorrow's going to be a rough day. But I think you put them in the perfect order. I think you really put them in the perfect order. Because
it was just that experience. It's like, if I would have done it this way, these videos would have come out better.
What do you have left in the pack? You just have another 4 of the same?
Yeah, I have another 4 of the same. I was actually going to save these, but I was like, you know what? I'm with Lopez. I'm going to drink them. Okay. I got family members and relatives that are like, dude, save them for me. I'm like, yeah, whatever. They're going to be here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I know I'm going to take 4 to a brewer friend of mine, and then I'm going to hold the other 4 for Brother Joe because he loves this weird shit. Like, he loves this weird shit.
So I might if I find them again, I'll probably pick up another pack just to have.
Yeah.
For people to experiment, because I do have people from like TikTok and stuff that have come over to the house that I've met over the time.
That's good.
They're going to be like, do you have any of that stuff? I'm like, yeah, right here.
Drink it right now. Make
Yeah,
a make a.
enjoy it.
All right. So as we're wrapping up, what are you watching right now? Like not so much YouTube stuff, but like movies, TV shows. What's going on with you? Like, what are you really digging on?
Okay, so one of the great things I love about TikTok is they tell you about movies and stuff that you've never heard of,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of give you a little review.
All right.
So there's a horror movie on Shudder called The Medium.
I've heard people talking about The Medium.
That's a good movie. I need to rewatch that, and because it's subtitled, you kind of get immersed into it.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good movie, and it had a couple of oh shit moments, like what the hell.
Did you watch The Black Phone?
No, I haven't seen The Black Phone with Ethan Hawke, right?
Ethan Hawke. I haven't seen it yet, but I want to.
We saw the last Jurassic World movie
Ooh.
3 or 4 times, maybe.
You like
At
it?
the theaters. I loved it. I'm a
Really?
big Jurassic Park nerd. I'm a big Jurassic Park nerd.
See, the wife is too, and we were still like at the end, like there was one point where I was kind of like, there's still an hour in this movie. I guess it was just the fact that I think what they did is I think what they might have done for the casual fan is they overloaded it with people. Because there's some points where you're like they're all walking together like the Scooby-Doo gang, and you're like, someone's got to die. Come on, man.
There was. I mean, it's spoiler alert. Nobody dies.
Sure. No, nobody was paid enough to die.
Yeah, nobody dies except a bad guy, like always.
What do you know about that Hulu Prey?
Okay, that's a good movie.
Oh my God, I've watched it twice already.
I've only seen it once, but it was so good. And then, like, going back to TikTok, people were complaining that how do they kill them with like primitive weapons? But they called it on TikTok. I never thought about it until somebody said it. Like pretty much in every movie, that fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger killed them with,
Primitive
piece of wood with spikes.
Primitive weapons. Here's the thing. What it had nothing to do with the weapons. It has everything to do with outsmarting your predator. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Nobody else figured it out but the one person in every movie. Danny Glover in Predator 2. Like, they figured it out.
Same thing with, what was it? Did they do that in Predators? Because everybody had the crazy weapons in Predators.
I didn't watch anything between Predator 2 and Prey. My brother did.
Predators was an interesting movie. It was a weird movie.
Didn't they do an Alien versus Predator movie?
They did an Alien versus. That wasn't too bad, but there was a scene where, another spoiler alert, where you think the Predator and the hero chick were going to make out.
Ugh.
Which was totally awkward. They had like a moment that you're like, are they going to kiss?
Ugh.
And all you can think of is like, Mike Tyson's kiss.
Kiss. Oh, God. Just that toothy kiss. I did really enjoy Prey, though. I thought it was 90 minutes. You're in and out. Like, you're not dilly-dallying too much. It had its spots of really good CG. It had its spots of okay CG. But, like, what I did like about that, and there was a lot of TikTok videos and videos on Reddit about the practical effects they used for the actual Predator. Like, nothing on the Predator itself, the face, the body, none of that was CG. That was all practical effects. Which
I can see how easy it was to make.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't as futuristic as the modern Predators that we're used to seeing, right?
Yeah. It didn't have to be. Like, the most they had to CG were like the animals, right? The bear and like the mountain lion and stuff like that, and then the thing where he would, the thing that the Predator always has, where he has the 3 lasers and he shoots. Like, that's the big thing. But everything else was awesome. Like, it was cool to see really old weapons. It was cool to see, like, dumb hunters using muskets and shit like that. Like, it was cool.
That bear scene was pretty. It had me at the edge of my seat.
Intense. Well, and okay, I can't say too much because it gives so much away. But like, they had you thinking one thing for a long time, and then by the end of the movie, you're like, they did that on purpose. They did that on purpose. I get it.
I need to watch it again to have like that realization.
Yeah, I watched it with me and the wife watched it, and she loved it. I loved it. And then my wife had something to do last weekend, and I was hanging out with me and my mother-in-law just put the baby to sleep, and she hadn't seen it, and we watched it again before my wife got home, and like she was like, I bet Chris really loved that. I was like, oh, she loved it. And it was one of those things that was just kind of like, it was one of those things I didn't even realize was coming out until it came out.
Yeah, they snuck up on you.
And then, like, when I first heard about it, I was like, really? Because I knew, like, Predators was kind of and Alien versus Predators was better, but still, like, it wasn't, like, original Predator, right? This felt so much like how I felt watching the first Predator.
Yeah. It's like you have very few movies where they do the sequels that are really good.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like John Wick series is just amazing.
Yeah, and I'm also a sucker for Native American, stuff too. Like that's a really cool, gritty kind of vibe. Like it's almost felt like a gritty Western movie, but it wasn't. So that's been good. I mean, obviously with all the cooking and stuff you do, have you watched The Bear at all?
No, I don't even know what that is.
All right, so it's on Hulu. It's an FX show. It's called The Bear, and it's got one of the guys that played one of the kids in Shameless.
Okay.
And it's about, basically, without giving anything away, he is basically come back to take over the family sandwich shop in Chicago based. Take over the family sandwich shop that his brother left when he committed suicide. And here's the kicker. He's a world-renowned chef. Like he worked in the best restaurants in the world, and now he's back in this little shitty Italian beef shop in Chicago. And it is insanely good. Like I like, it's a series. They're 30-minute episodes, super digestible. Like you're not committing a lot of time if you only want to watch one or two. I would suggest watching it with your wife. Like it's written so well. And especially if you've ever been in that world or known people in that world of restaurants, right? High pressure, like we're busy as fuck. Let's get this stuff churned out. It's very much that. So it gives you that anxiety, but the writing is also really well done, and there's some really funny parts to it. They do a good job of mixing the drama and the comedy, and the guy who's the lead. I gotta pull it up right now. Let's see. The Bear. It is. Oh, what's his nuts? So, blah, 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 blah. Jeremy Allen White, and I think after this, like once you see it, you'll be like, oh, that fucking guy. But like, I think after this, they've set it up for another season for sure. But I think after this, you're going to see this guy in fucking everything. And, but The Bear is really fucking good. I highly suggest that. And especially as much as you like food, and there's good, as any good food show or movie does, like really good cutscenes of like high def, like we're searing meat, like doing all this stuff, right? But yeah, that's been on my list for a while, and it's been really good. Like to the point where we're like, should we just start that over? Like let's start from the beginning again, because it's just really well shot, really well acted. So, The Bear. What about any TV shows you got going on?
Hey, we started watching Ink Masters.
Okay. That's a reality show, right?
Yeah. It's
okay.
Just, a tattoo competition.
Yeah. Is that the one with Dave Navarro in it?
Yes. If people don't know, Rick loves bacon fact. I'm a big Dave Navarro fan.
Are you really?
I am.
Holy shit. Why was he in Red Hot Chili Peppers for like 2 seconds?
I think just because they didn't have a guitarist.
Was it just for 1 or 2 albums?
I don't remember. Because I was never really big into like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. But I knew he was in them. I knew he changed Addiction, and he did his solo stuff.
Yeah.
His solo stuff was good, but it never really took off.
Right. You ever seen him live?
No, I would love to, but I've never seen him live.
Does he even play anymore? Does he play more anymore?
I don't know. I'm sure he does. I just don't know.
Maybe that's the name of the episode. What the fuck is Dave Navarro up to? That's the name of the episode?
It's like you're going to have to like watch the ending to like figure out why.
Does he have a website? Like what? Okay, here we go. Dave Navarro has a Instagram.
Yeah, I follow his Instagram.
And the last actual picture of him, he's wearing like black metal face paint.
Well, he does have his clothing line. He does
Healing.
He actually just did a podcast. He was interviewed by a local podcaster.
Yeah.
And that was actually pretty cool to listen to. I just don't remember any of it.
Okay. Dual Diagnosis. Okay, that's his fucking clothing line. But he's got a picture of him like with someone with their arm wrapped around. Is that Sebastian Bach?
Are you on? You said you're on his Instagram, right?
Yeah, Dan Cleary. I don't know. I don't know if he's actually fucking touring anymore, but man.
I'm sure if James Addiction is touring, he'll probably.
They might do like one or two things, right? Like the Lollapalooza and shit like that every year.
Probably.
So Ink Masters, okay. All right, cool.
Such a drama-filled show. It's pretty hilarious to watch.
Well, it's amazing how much drama they can pack into a fucking tattoo show.
It's so,
you know, you're like, come on.
It's like you're looking at tattoo artists that, for the most part, are generally like assholes.
I think they're either assholes or they're really, really chill. There's usually you don't meet an in between. They're really full of themselves, or they really don't give a fuck. You know.
Well, as of like probably like 18 years ago, probably they were all assholes. But over time, and how saturated the market is with artists these days, they realize you got to be nice.
Yeah.
Because it's a service-based industry.
Mm.
You have Instagram, and if you're an asshole, people are reviewing you. So
yeah, you're kind of in the limelight, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's been pretty interesting. We just had a neighbor open up a tattoo shop.
Yeah. You gonna get something done?
I already got 2 tattoos from them.
I've got, so my tattoo artist, Mike Groves, who I've had on the podcast a few times, has retired from tattooing. He's like an art director for a game board, like a game board chain of like stores. Like they've got like 6 stores out right now, Master Goblin Games. I think they've got a spot in Austin. The guy that owns it's based in Austin, I think. Master Goblin Games.
I'm already looking it up too.
Yeah, they're in Austin, I'm pretty sure. No, they're not. The guy's from Austin though. But it's State College in PA, San Francisco, Atlanta, Denver, Portland, Miami. But so he retired.
They are showing an address here in Austin for a business address.
That's probably where he lives. I'm pretty sure he told me that the guy is from Austin. But he's mainly opening things like where there's colleges.
Okay.
Where the clientele is, right? But yeah, it's kind of cool. Like it's he decided he was done with tattooing. So like if I want to get a tattoo now, I've got to go find someone new. And that's like the guy I've been going to since I was 19. So I'm like, that's all I've known for 20 years. Like, how do I do this? You know, how do I court a new tattoo artist?
So this goes back to, well, we didn't talk about it on this episode, but we'll talk about it in another episode, the Vinnie Paul story.
Mm.
But I'm actually getting tattooed in 3 weeks.
Okay.
By somebody that I met at the same time I met Vinnie Paul.
Really?
Yeah. So
R.I.P. Vinnie Paul, man.
Yeah, but no, we still talk about that night. We became friends on whatever social media there was back in the day when that happened. And she became a piercer. Then she started tattooing, and I started seeing her artwork. And she's coming to a convention outside of Austin. So I was like, "Hey, I saw this work. Can you get this done for me?" And she's like, "Oh hell yeah, it'd be awesome, and we can talk about that crazy ass night that we always remember."
Talk about Vinnie Paul.
Oh yeah,
you can listen to Pantera and Damage Plan while I tattoo you.
Or hell yeah.
Or hell yeah. Whatever's got Vinnie Paul on it. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's not a bad goal to have. Is to like get a full tattoo while you're listening to anything that involves Vinnie Paul.
I mean, that's just kind of like the person that's tattooing me. We met.
I know.
Meeting Vinnie Paul. It's so crazy.
You should find like a podcast Vinnie Paul was on.
Oh God.
It's just a Vinnie Paul interviews while you just get tattooed.
Revolver used to have interviews with Vinnie Paul.
He was a cool dude from what I understand. Like he was like a really chill guy.
The dude was amazingly friendly.
Did you ever
He's an angel.
Yeah. Did you ever read or hear about Dave Grohl's Vinnie Paul story?
Oh, well, maybe. I'm not sure.
So I'm not going to ruin the whole thing, but Dave Grohl has a great Vinnie Paul story about meeting Vinnie Paul and Vinnie Paul being like, "Hey man, you got to come to my strip club when you're in Texas next time." Like, because he had his own strip club in Texas. Like,
yeah,
and
Playroom or something like that.
Yeah, and it's a great story. Like, I think you can look it up online, but I think it's part of his book that came out that was just like all his stories from his career or whatever. And he just seemed like such a cool dude, like just a chill, like, you would fucking, if you had a night to hang out with Vinnie Paul, that you'd probably have the worst hangover of your life, but you would never forget the night.
So I went to this whole YouTube series called Bus Invaders, where they go into, it's like Cribs, but for tour buses.
Mm-hmm.
And they did Hell Yeah. And
Alcohol and ass.
Chad Gray, I can't remember his
Chad Gray, yeah.
Yeah. He was talking about how, like, he's like, Vinnie Paul likes to invite all kinds of people in here. Vinnie Paul's in the background. Hell yeah. After the concert, this turned into the Hell Yeah Bar and Grill.
The Hell Yeah Bar and Grill. Yeah, he always seemed like in interviews he was a really chill dude. And a fucking amazing drummer.
I'm interested to see if the dude from Anthrax is going to be able to carry that torch.
Dude, I'm sure someone can mimic it for sure, but like no one, when it was actively being put out into the fucking ether, no one was doing that shit. Fucking, like, you saw all the pictures of Vinnie Paul. He always had the fucking drumsticks backwards, because he was using the broadside. And just that, just sounded like a damn diesel engine the whole time.
He has that unique sound. There's like a weird, like, bass sound. You kind of have like a thunk.
Yeah, it's and everything's rolling off itself too. It's never not. There's never more than like. He's never just like one hit on the drum. It's always like a. It's never just like a bang. It's just a over and over again.
It's definitely going to be interesting with the guy from Anthrax and Zakk Wylde.
It sounds a lot like. It sounds like anytime you just listen to the drums, like anytime you put on a Pantera song, like just listen to the drums and just how much it sounds like a fucking engine on a badass muscle car. It doesn't ever sound like drums. It just sounds like a machine. And then you watch videos of the guy and you're just kind of like, that's not how the human body moves. And I feel that way about a lot of drummers, because I feel like drummers are just so what I've been obsessed with on YouTube are reaction videos, like good reaction videos, not just reacting to this or that, but like I think I've put more hours into watching people react to Danny Carey from Tool drumming, Pneuma live, and just how insane he is as a drummer. Like watching other professional drummers be like, I can't keep count with how he's counting because he doesn't count the same way as everyone else. Like, and just like some drummers just seem otherworldly to me,
There was a band that I saw like that, Graveyard Barbecue, which they became famous because they had a song go on Guitar Hero.
Okay.
And great song. Great music. They're fun to watch live. Never really made it big, but they're such cool people. Fun to watch. But their drummer, same thing. Looks like a machine. His arms and legs are like something you see out of The Simpsons, right? Or you just see everything going everywhere, but his body is just solid.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, what the hell, dude? Another drummer, he's no longer with this band, but Ghost. The band Ghost.
Yeah.
So they did a session where they're playing in the studio and the drummer's just looking at the camera. He's not even looking at the drums because like even in an interview they said, we don't even know why he's with us. The guy's amazing and our music's so simple to play. You can just see him. You can't, they're costumes, but all you see of his eyes and he's just playing the drums like nothing.
Ghost's most recent album that came out, Impera, is so fucking good.
Oh, it's amazing. Actually, we saw Bo Beat. That's when we met Benny Paul.
Yeah. It's to me, drum like, so my cousin who really got me into rock music and took me to my first concert, which was, someone asked me about it today, which was Kiss in 1996 when the entire band reunited with makeup and everything. He was a drummer. My cousin, he was a drummer, and he played in several bands in our hometown, and I can't understand like how you get so much going on, and like if for Danny Carey for example is like doing 4 different things at 4 different counts, like with one count with his left arm, his right arm, and then 2 different counts with his feet, and you're kind of like, I can't fathom even how to do just 2 different counts, or I can't fathom 1 count. I'll be honest, like
they're not human.
They're not human, but like you just realize that, okay, I'm looking at many, many years of just sitting by yourself and just drumming and being like, what can I do here? All right, I'm doing this one thing and I'm doing it good. Let me add this thing to it. I suck at this, but let me keep doing it. And then I'm not going to suck at it. Like, it's a level of dedication that doesn't cross very many people's existence, I think. Like in like in some jobs I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of like musicians, and I'm not talking about like rock stars like when I met Ronnie James Dio. I'm talking about like the premier cello player for the United States, right? Someone who's played with different orchestras all around the world. And you're just kind of like, you talk to him and you're like, oh, your brain there's a reason why you have a problem with your computer. And it's not the fact that your computer's busted. It's the fact that your brain doesn't even have time to think about why you can't print something. It's like, oh, your printer's turned off and you're not thinking about that because all you're thinking about is this cello, right?
Yeah.
There are people who do something for a living or do something as such a passion that nothing, like literally nothing else matters. Like you talk to
John 5.
Yeah.
John, the dude, always playing guitar.
Always
playing guitar. And like I follow him. Super nice guy too. I've never personally met him. But he's responded to some of my the stuff that I've like sent him on Twitter in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Super nice guy. And that was actually kind of nice. Like, oh, John 5 responded. That's so cool.
Well, and I think going back to the content creation thing where you're talking about like, oh yeah, put your head down and just really dedicate yourself to getting your channel as big as you can, or getting your TikTok as big as you can, or having the most views on YouTube or whatever. But like, even you could take the most like focused Twitch person, right? And then you go to someone like a John 5, right? Or a Danny Carey, who's amazing at drums, or, any of these musicians, and you're kind of like, oh, they're like levels way above what even the most dedicated Twitch streamer's doing. It's like, you're good at what you do, but have you sat down for whatever, 20, 30,000 hours just to figure out how to drum the way you drum, or how to play the cello the way you play? Like, there's so many levels to it. And we're just like, you go and deal with someone, because I do IT work. So you go and deal with someone who's having like these simple issues where like, how do you not know this? Like, you're so amazing. Like, you're a very smart person, but it's just like, you talk to them, you're like, all you think about is whatever instrument you're dealing with. Like it's literally all you're obsessed with, you know. It's so wild because you rarely get to meet people who are that just insane about it. But then you have people who are amazingly good at stuff, right? I'm not saying this is what Vinnie Paul was like, but you have a Vinnie Paul who can party and live a life and tour the world and just have all this other stuff going on, but they're just naturally that good at shit. Like you have the people who have to focus and be really, really good because they have to concentrate on it. And you have the people who are just kind of like fucking amazing. And they're just like, I'm sure they practice. I'm sure they have all this stuff, but like that natural talent, right?
Natural, yeah. Yeah, and you see that on TikTok. You see these kids, you know, playing drums or playing guitar or playing instrument of choice, and they're just like amazing.
Yeah.
They're so young. And you know they don't have the experience, but they're just naturally amazing. It's really fun to watch.
Well, you had so obviously we know that not too terribly long ago, Taylor Hawkins died from the Foo Fighters. You know, the drummer from the Foo Fighters passed away, and they're doing a big tribute show for him coming up soon in California, I think, and they're gonna get the little girl who's a drummer, Nandi Bushnell.
Oh yeah,
she's gonna be drumming for them, like, and like, cause her shit went viral. Like, she came up and like drummed like Everlong with them on stage, and like she's, I want to say, how old is Nandi Bushnell?
Probably like 13 or 14 now, isn't she? She's young.
12, by the way.
Oh wow, yeah.
She's 12, and she's incredible.
She's insanely good.
And it's like, it's weird because like she made this whole post for, I think it was Father's Day, and like her dad's not a music, like I don't know if she's adopted, but her dad's not a musician, but like she really took to the drums, and so her dad just got like a guitar and just started like just halfway jamming with her because he didn't know how to play, but he would just do something very simple and rudimentary, and she would just play the drums along with it. And like now she's like drumming for the Foo Fighters, and it's just like at 12.
Yeah, I saw she did a thing with Tom Morello.
Dude, she's done things with like so many people.
Yeah, she's gonna be a powerhouse.
Like you just kind of
already is.
Yeah, and you're just kind of like, you just come out. Not that you come out knowing how to do that, but like you come out and you find at such a young age, you find an obsession that you're really good at. And like, I can't fathom that, because like me at 12, I'm just kind of like, I gotta buy that new Weezer album. Like, I don't know. Like, it's like, I didn't have a musical bone in my body, you know?
I think it also depends too. Like, if you show interest, like, not to be like a Debbie Downer, right?
Sure.
But it's kind of like, if you show interest, it's like you gotta have like that support as a kid.
Dude,
always had the upbringing that everything I wanted to do was dumb.
Even when I was doing radio, and that was my fucking job. I think I might have said this with Death. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, but even when I was doing radio and it was my job and it was my career at the time, right? Not that my mom or my dad meant anything bad by it, but they would always be like, oh, are you still doing your little radio thing? It's like, yeah, I am. My fucking career. Yes, I am doing that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm doing to pay bills. I just think a lot of it has to do a little bit with the parents and how they were brought up and what their generation was like, because it was like, we're on that edge of like parents that some parents were cool, some parents were just not there, and some parents were just kind of like, you get a job and you fucking work and you make your way through this world, right? And since becoming a dad, it's been like one of those things which is kind of like, I think about the fact that how into radio I was in like middle school and how I listened to it all the time. Because like you were saying, we didn't have cable. Like, I didn't have cable either. I lived out in the middle of the nowhere, but I had the fucking local alternative station, and I called in every week to be a guest DJ when they were doing the countdown and stuff like that. But like, how different my life would have been had one of my parents taken notice and been like, hey, I can go talk to someone and get you to go hang out in the radio station for a day.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to join the school orchestra.
Yeah.
So I went. I really wanted to play the flute.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad was like, no, it's dumb.
Yeah.
So I signed up for the school orchestra, and I was one of the kids just sitting there like, I don't have an instrument to play, but I signed up for this class. So now I'm here.
What'd you do? Did you whistle? What'd you do?
No, I didn't do nothing. There was a bunch of us that had that, like, the dads were assholes.
But you just wanted to be there. That's kind of cool they let you be there at least.
Well, it was because I signed up. So you had to do some sort of music. You can be with like all the kids that are playing the recorder,
Mm-hmm.
or you wanted to be part of an orchestra and learn how to read music.
There's so much stuff that like kind of mind fucks you with that, because what was I reading? We were talking we talked about it a little bit in the Parentally Unprepared podcast that I do with my wife, where we just talked about how like we're terrified about any little thing you say could like just change the direction someone's going, right? Where even if you're joking sometimes, like if you're like someone's singing something like, oh God, you sound terrible. And they're like, now they become self-conscious for the rest of their life that they sound terrible. Right. And they're never going to try again. Right. So, I mean, obviously my kid's not even 2 years old yet, but you're still just kind of like, I'm just kind of looking like, what is she like? Like, what does she want to do? Cause I want to be like, you can go try this, go try it. You know, You want to go tumbling? We'll take you to a tumble class. You want to, do this or that? Like, let's go see if you really like it. Because I feel like, not that my parents wouldn't have wanted to do that, but that maybe they weren't in the position to do that. They were working, or we didn't have the money, or whatever it was. And I'm just kind of like, being where I'm at now and content creating and knowing that, feeling like had I known this would be a possibility when I was in high school or college, I could be like, oh fuck, this is coming down the road. I could just keep working at this. Had there been someone that's been like, you can go and check out this person doing this. Like, I've got so many friends that are like, oh, my kid just really wants to do YouTube. And I'm like, I can introduce you to some YouTubers. I get listen. They can see, like, they're really into audio editing or not audio editing, but video editing. I'm just kind of like, I can introduce you to some people that know how to video edit. Like,
Oh, and my wife and I, when my wife and I were trying to have kids, obviously we don't have any. We couldn't have any.
Right.
But we were like, okay, we're going to support them in whatever they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, my upbringing, my mom, super sweet, wonderful woman. Until now, she's like, I wish I wouldn't have let your dad dictate.
Right.
Because he was just always against anything creative that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm like, it's not your fault. It's whatever. I made the best of it. I did what I could do.
Well, they only know what they know.
Yeah.
And you only know what you know. Like, so it's like, for me, it's not like I resented my parents for not being like, hey, why don't you go down to the radio station and see if you can help them out with something. Yeah. I never thought about it as a job, right? Until I was in my mid-20s. I was like, oh yeah, you can just fucking do that. And then like within a few years, I was doing radio in Atlanta, right? So it was like, I can be mad about it, or I can take the time to understand that that's just where their mind was at. Like, they weren't meaning any harm by it. Like, they only knew what they knew that would in their eyes make me more comfortable, more secure. So I don't blame anybody. But now that I've got a kid, I'm just kind of like, all right, if I see something she's interested in, I can nurture that. Yeah. But there's a fine line. You don't want to nurture it too much because then you become the overbearing, like, go do this thing.
You don't want to be the parent that lives vicariously through their children, right? It's
so hard. And I think, honestly, that's why a lot of kids, and we talked about this on the last Parentally Unprepared podcast. I think that's why a lot of kids don't follow in their parents' footsteps, is because their parents will try to give them constructive feedback, but because of the way the relationship is, it's just like, well, I'll never live up to what my dad thinks I should be doing. And it's like, no. You know, it's hard because you have already made the mistakes. You have already, like, if my kid wanted to be in IT, and I'd be like, no, you have to do this. But like all my stuff is like gradually built up over time. All my, you know, trial and error, like a motherfucker, right? But when I try to tell her, no, like you need to approach it like this, I'm coming at it from my thing where I've made these mistakes before, and I know that that's what needs to happen. You almost have to like let those mistakes happen in a way that's like, you can make suggestions, but don't be like, do it like this.
Yeah.
Because then they'll be like, fuck that. I want to go do something else now.
I saw one thing on Ink Masters that had me dying laughing.
Yeah.
My wife and I were watching it. This dude's like, I just had a baby boy. He's like 6 months old. I want a tattoo of him and I walking away from the baseball field where I'm holding a bat and he's holding a glove.
Jesus
and
Christ.
I'm like, wait, my wife and I are just looking at each other like, what if he's not into baseball?
People get locked in on their idea of what something is. And me and Sean talked about this in the very first episode of Offline and in that preceding episode of Lopez Radio. When there's a band that you love or that you and your friends love, and that second album comes out and it's not the way you think it's going to sound, and you're like, this fucking sucks. Yeah. And you're like, what you don't realize is you wrote what you thought that album should sound like in your head before you heard it. And so now you're disappointed because it's not what you expected. But you'll go back years later and be like, this album's so fucking good, man. Like when you're separated from it, you know? I've got so many bands like that. But I don't know, man. That's like the big stress of having the kid, is being like, that I want to nurture it, but I want to nurture like the interest, but I don't want to be overbearing about it. You interested in jiu-jitsu? I'll put you in a jiu-jitsu class. You don't like it? Get the fuck out of there. Let's go do something else. Like, you have to be so nonchalant about things, because if you're like, oh yeah, you like Ghostbusters? Let's read all the Ghostbusters stuff and watch all the movies. They're going to hate it. Like, I'm so terrified she's going to hate the movies I love. I'm just like, I just want you to like Beetlejuice with me, please.
You're just like, okay, I'm going to watch this movie. You can watch it with me if you want to.
Yeah.
You don't have to, and maybe you'll enjoy it.
I almost feel like the best thing is to be like, you don't need to watch this. You shouldn't watch this. And then she'll be like, I want to watch it.
Well, I'm kind of having like this ever since we've been together. Like, my wife and I have this dilemma with her. She's never seen Willow.
Oh, God.
And I've tried to get her to watch Willow with me, and I'm like, she's like, no. And I'm like, but you got to love Willow. So now I'm being like that overbearing partner.
Yeah.
That, like, you got to watch Willow. It's so amazing. But then she's like, I don't know.
She just resists it more. Like, that's the thing. Yeah. It's like dating. You have to be like, you might like it. And they'll be like, I want to see it now. He's indifferent to it. But when you're like, you're going to love this, they'll be like, never mind.
I don't know how many years it's been. She still hasn't seen Willow, though.
You a big Val Kilmer fan?
I don't know if I am or not. I mean, maybe from Top Gun, but that's about it.
Well, Top Gun and Willow.
Top Gun and Willow. It was more than having Warwick Davis in Willow, right?
Warwick Davis is good. Yeah. So fucking Leprechaun. Come on.
You know what? I didn't know he was in that.
He was the Leprechaun. He is the Leprechaun. Yeah.
He was R2-D2?
Was he? No.
I think he was R2-D2.
I don't think he was.
I don't. Maybe.
So Val Kilmer. Like, have you ever seen The Salton Sea? Did you ever see The Salton Sea?
I don't think so.
That would absolutely be your vibe. It's very, very pulpy, very 90s. But The Salton Sea is a really good Val Kilmer movie. There's that. Obviously, he was in Top Gun. That's what he's like really, really known for. He's Batman, The Saint, all that stuff. But there's that documentary on Prime about him called Val, and about what he's doing. So he was doing so as a content creator, I feel like the Val documentary is really fucking interesting, because he was doing fucking like found footage and like recording everything way before cell phones. He had his own camcorder during Top Gun. Like, he was filming stuff like when they were, offset or while they were behind the scenes and stuff like that before. So it was like as if someone had gone back into the 80s and had a fucking cell phone. Like, that's how much shit he recorded.
He was a pre-YouTube YouTuber.
Yes. And the footage that they've got for that documentary, because he's involved with it, was so incredible because he found all the footage and they like came through and digitized it all and they edited it in a way where like they went through his entire career, right? And ever since he was in Top Gun, he always had a camcorder with him, always. And so it was interesting because he was doing like viral video shit before there was viral video as far as in the way that we know it. But it's also a sad story. It's a document. I mean, he had throat cancer and all, now he can't really talk very well and stuff like that, and just an insane like difference from being like the guy in every movie to now you are like, you're at a convention,
One guy you should look into if you haven't heard of him, Werner Herzog.
Werner Herzog. Yes. I've heard of that.
He's a documentarian. He did a lot of narrating. But he came out in the Jack Reacher movie where he was the bad guy.
Yeah. He's in a lot of things.
But like the way he started, like he filmed his first documentary with a stolen video camera. Because he really wanted to get this. He did all the legwork to get it done, but couldn't afford a camera, so he ended up stealing one to record it.
Dude, some of the craziest shit, the most memorable shit, was done in such weird fashion, right? Fucking Kevin Smith, when he filmed Clerks, he fucking maxed out every credit card he had, called in every favor he had, and it was negative fucking thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it just happened to hit. Like, it's only when people are like, I got nothing to lose, I can't get any more broke than I am, fucking I'm just gonna do it, where it's insane. And I feel like that's where a lot of content creators come into the challenge, right? Where they're kind of like, they're not doing it because they need to survive, because most of them are working, when they first start doing what they're doing. So you don't have that like, I have to do this or I fucking don't eat tonight. You don't have that situation. You have that like, well, I got my 9 to 5 and I'm trying to make this stream thing work. And there's some people who get into a situation where it like works for them, but I think it's hard. I don't know. Like, when you got nothing left to lose, I feel like those are the people that, and there's streamers that and YouTubers that have that situation. Mr. Beast. Yeah, I don't know if you ever watch interviews with him, but
I've heard of him. I've never really watched his stuff.
His shit is gigantic. Like, he has multiple channels that are gigantic.
Yeah. The first time I heard about it, somebody was like, "Oh yeah, Mr. Beast is coming into your channel."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know who that is. I'm like, I don't care. They're like, "Oh, he's gonna donate a bunch of money." I was like, I don't need money.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know who he is.
But like, he just has, every time he posts a video, it's like millions of views. Like, he just is a giant YouTuber. But like, he, if you watch interviews with him, it's like, yeah, I told my mom after high school, I told my mom I was going to college. I did terribly in high school. Told my mom I was going to community college. I went to the community college and I sat in the parking lot on my laptop figuring out YouTube. And like, it's just kind of those situations where people get so locked in on what they're trying to do. Like, it's the same thing as the cello player I was talking about earlier. It's the same thing as the drummers we were talking about earlier. It's like, you find the thing you're locked into and you just make it work. And like, look, for every person that makes it work, there's probably like fucking 100 that doesn't work out for. But you never fucking know, right? It's all about following the passion of what you're doing.
Just have fun with it, man.
Just have fun with it, but like if you're serious,
Realistic.
be realistic. And if you're like there is also a sort of freedom to being 17, 18 years old and going after something and being almost 40.
Bills.
Right, almost 40, and you've got a house and you've got a kid and you've got, you know, a life you have to live and bills you have to pay. It's absolutely different.
So actually, my goal was to actually go full-time streaming, just to give it a shot, see what could happen.
Right.
But of course, my internet took a shit, and I couldn't do anything. So my wife and I were in a good place where, well, not anymore because she's unemployed.
Right.
But at the time, we were like in a really good place financially where we could pretty much do whatever we wanted and not have to worry about not being able to pay stuff.
Yeah. It's tough, man. Like it really is. Like sometimes it's the fact that, like, I know, so Morph, for example, he used to be Morph UK, now he's Morph _ whatever on Twitch. He used to be like a big, like, professional level, almost professional level, like road cycle rider, like Tour de France type people, you know, like just rode bicycles, right? Got in a terrible crash, right? And like got hit by a car and like broke most of the bones in his body and stuff like that. And, you know, just was placed in a situation where like he had to fucking figure something else out. He started streaming and, you know, now he does pretty well for himself. He's not like the giant streamer, but he's not like doing too shabby, right? You know, we got our friend Curdy that, you know, going into the pandemic, she was working at a bank and she was miserable and she was like, I'm going to find another job. And in between jobs, she just started streaming full. She was already streaming, but she started streaming like full time, like while she was looking for a job, and ended up just hitting right and finding her audience and getting a partnership and, you know, moving into doing what she's doing now. And now she's doing it as, you know, for a living. It's not easy. And she'll tell you that.
It's definitely not easy. No, it's hard.
It's hard as fuck. And she's gonna be on the podcast in the next week or two. But that's just not easy, you know? But she's making it work for herself, you know, for her situation. Yeah. So some people just kind of get into that situation where like it fits what they're doing. I'm not gonna say anyone lucks into a situation because I feel like that's writing it off. And I don't think that's I think that's unfair to say. I feel like people just happen to end up in situations where they can try it out for a little while full time. Like if I were to lose my job tomorrow, I would be streaming every day during the day, right? Until I found another job or until that hit.
When I got laid off during the pandemic, I was streaming full time because I'm not working.
Yeah.
And you know what? It worked out well. That's when I realized I was like, well, maybe I can make a go at this.
Yeah. And I mean, it works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just being in front of the right eyes. Sometimes it's just lucking out and getting seen by the right people. And that's just with any, and I tell this to people that are trying to get into it, it's like with any entertainment situation, radio, TV, music, movies. Sometimes it's just playing that fucking gig that you didn't want to go to at some old bar, and now all of a sudden there's some radio exec there or some, you know, record exec there that's like, I want to sign this fucking band, you know. It's
and don't be an asshole.
Yeah, don't be an asshole. Like you never know who you're talking to. Like sometimes it's just turning on the camera and going live and being like, all right, so you get seen or rated by the right people, and like it's just, that's the tipping point. I'm not saying a raid is going to make or break you, but like it could be the tipping point to being like, hey, this guy signed off on you and people thought enough to stick around. Like that happens sometimes, right? And that starts sending you in another direction because now that places you a little bit above some people that you were in the same pack with.
Yeah.
It's
for another episode, but I do kind of have like my whole, like, I feel like I'm one of the luckiest people on TikTok.
Think so?
Oh yeah.
You jumped, and then you said you jumped in after the big boom of like everybody jumping in on everybody. Like it's Twitch is a much tougher game than it used to be. Just like TikTok's a much tougher game than it used to be.
Oh yeah. But even then I still feel like I'm one of the luckiest people ever.
Yeah.
We can talk about that in some other episode.
We can. We're probably both about to piss ourselves.
I'm good. But
You're good? Okay.
I'm good.
I like this last beer. It's not too hot. Do you think it's hot?
It's not this time. The first time I was dying, but it's not too bad today.
All right, here's what. All right, before we get out of here, here's what I'm paranoid about. I think I just rambled too much. I'm a little too drunk.
We're having a good time.
I feel like it's like right now. I'm sure it's fine because I'll go back and listen to it before I post it. I feel like right now I'm unlistenable.
No, you sound fine. You sound fine.
I feel terrible.
You sound fine.
Because I looked up it and I just saw that we're about to hit 3 hours on this, not even offline, which we went almost an hour. We're almost at 3 hours. It's almost midnight here.
We had a lot of catching up to do.
We did. I missed you.
I miss you too, man.
We got to figure out a time to meet up again. Like actually meet up. Me, you, and Poteet.
Definitely do it again. Yeah, we'll definitely do that at some point.
Should we? So Poteet is a big fan of Dallas.
Yeah?
He loves Dallas. There's like a bunch of breweries there he likes. We need to figure out a Dallas time.
So we can figure out Martin House Brewing time?
Well, Fort Worth is right there, right?
Yeah.
We could just, we don't want to stay in Fort Worth, but we just dip our toe over there. Sure.
Yeah, no, you don't want to stay in Fort Worth.
No one stays in Fort Worth.
And then we can get tattooed in Dallas. We can do like one of those get what you get gumball machines.
Lopez does Dallas. I like it. It could be good. All right, we got to get out of here before I get in any more trouble.
Come out dirty.
Yeah, it's already there. I'm already there.
We're getting there. Well,
We're touching tips. We're fine. We're good.
Yeah. Nobody's knees are dirty, so we're good.
Rick, thank you for being on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I had a blast, dude.
It's been a long time coming. If you want to follow Rick, it's at Rick Loves Bacon at all the social medias. That's TikTok, that's Instagram, that's Twitter, that's YouTube, that's Twitch, that's all the stuff.
Everything.
Rick Loves Bacon. And definitely TikTok. Just go watch some of those food videos, man. The guy influenced me to buy a 36-inch grill, okay? Listen. He knows what he's talking about. He does some good stuff. I have never seen a piece of brisket that he's pulled on that has stretched and come back. It always pulls apart immediately. Unless he just hasn't posted the ones that came back.
I had some pretty bad ones.
All right, tell me this real quick before we get out of here. How many? So let's talk about brisket. How many briskets have you fucked up that you didn't film or that you filmed and didn't post?
Actually, not many because I was already experienced cooking briskets.
Okay, so the biggest mess up was the fucking taking the membrane off the ribs. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I burnt some food, so it's happened.
But you still ate it, right? It was still good.
No, it was not good.
It was unedible.
It was unedible. It was charcoal.
Okay.
It was charcoal.
All right. Fair enough. All right, we're gonna get out of here, guys. Like I said, at Rick Loves Bacon, all the things. And if you want to follow me, it's at Lopez Radio on Twitter. Please rate, review, subscribe if you want to. If you don't, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. I love all of you. Rick loves all of you. He's coming back to Twitch.
I'm excited.
You better be. You got to use that mic, buddy. Say it. Do it.
What have I said?
We're going off the air.